You're listening to The Pete Shepard Show.
It's good to be back.
New York Kid, bases loaded, 2 out. Cranks a ball, deep left field. Volpe with redemption.
To Gleyber. A fly ball to deep right. That's going back. That ball is gone. It's Gleyber Day. He hits a 3-run home run to blow this game apart. And like a good Gleyber, Torres is there. So the Yankees
Get the puke bucket ready to go. Like a good neighbor, Gleyber is there. Oh, God. Well, Yankees stay alive. Does he write this shit down? I don't know. I like John a lot. I mean, he's a Yankee legend broadcaster. I get it, but oh my God, it is so corny. Yankees stay alive. Yankees stay alive. I thought their bats might come into play finally last night. They stay alive and force a Game 5 tonight in the Bronx. The Dodgers still leading these series 3-1. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Pete Shepard Show here on the Coastal Sports Network. Thanks for checking us out across the video platform as well. Following me on Twitter, X at PShep326, on Facebook at SR1029thegame.com, Ion TV, CSN Florida, Rumble, Kick, LinkedIn, Spotify, Twitch, YouTube, and you can always call or text the show 727-858-6650, 727-858-6650. That is the number to call. Good morning, everybody. Going to have today, great show lined up for you today. Going to be fast and furious, so get ready. Got the ladies coming up in the 9 o'clock hour. Before that, at 8:30, Bill Sparrow's going to join me from the Boston Herald and the senior betting analyst from bookies.com. Then Deandra Liu, great reporter, covers the Tampa Bay Lightning. We'll talk about the emotional return of Stamkos the other night. Deandra's in the middle of it. She's also now working for the NHL Network, so we'll have her on first time all year at 9:05 this morning. Then at 9:30, another lovely young lady, Mia O'Brien from 1010XL, covers the Jacksonville Jaguars and college football as well. We'll get into it with her, the Jaguars and the Florida Gators and Florida State with her and all that other good stuff. In the meantime, we'll have the latest NFL and college football news with World Series. We'll recap it as well. NBA and NHL rundown. Got a college football quiz for you. Lots of video. Lots of shenanigans happening last night in the TNT studio. And that's the best part about the NBA returning. Not because my Celtics are phenomenal, and they'll be in action again tonight on the road on ESPN against Indiana. Hopefully they will win that and improve to, 6-0? But the shenanigans in the TNT studios with Ernie and Chuck and Shaq and Kenny, it makes it all... It's fun. It doesn't matter who's playing. It's just mandatory to watch pregame, halftime, and postgame. Even if you don't watch the game, you got to watch that. Pretty good stuff. Speaking of the NBA, I told you yesterday because of Joel Embiid's stupid remark about making I'm not playing back-to-back games. Well, the NBA's decided to fine the 76ers and Angel Martinez $100,000 because he's partly responsible. $100,000. Angel has to kick in half of 1%. In order to cover that, figure that out, and he's upset. He doesn't want to answer any more questions about Joel Embiid and Paul George, who will not make their debut, I believe, tonight at home for the 76ers. A lot of blame pie there. Daryl Morey, Elton Brand as well, and I don't blame Nick Nurse, who's a Fort Myers guy, by the way. I believe lives here most of the time, and you got to be frustrated as a 76ers fan with Paul George and Joel Embiid not being able to play tonight. That stinks. But we'll get to all of that. We'll get to all the NBA rundown. The Pelicans blew a 20-point lead last night. A lot of good stuff going on. Lots of stuff in the NHL. The Bruins stunk. Your Philadelphia Flyers, Angels Philadelphia Flyers, shut out my Bruins last night at the Garden by a score of 2-0. That was hideous. It's twice now in a few games the Bruins have been shut out. They got shut out in Nashville, too. So anyway, they're 4-5. Not used to it. Last 2 years, they just keep winning and winning and winning, and they're at the top of the division. Now they're like, last place in the Eastern Conference or down the bottom. But it's very, very early. It's very, very early. But, some interesting, couple of little red flags for the Bruins. Tampa Bay also, the Tampa Bay Lightning is well in action tonight at Colorado. Colorado started off crappy, like losing their first 4 or 5 games, and they've won 5 in a row. They fell flat the other night against the Blackhawks, but Tampa Bay's been struggling on the power play and the penalty kill, which they normally do very well at. But we'll get into all of that. As I said, the latest NFL news, college football news. I got a college football quiz for you, Angel. It even involves Penn State. Some interesting little quiz for you. Big game they got coming up this weekend. Can they finally beat Ohio State? It has been a while. But they are at home this week against Ohio State, and I think this is the time. I think they have a good chance to beat them. Speaking of Angel, we say good morning, buenos dias, amigo. How are you?
Buenos dias. Yeah, if you want to hear any Sixers talk, you guys can press 3 on your phone right now, and you'll hear all the garbage nonsense that's coming out of there. Unfreaking believable.
You haven't even tipped off a home game yet.
I don't have to. Listen. I'm done. I forgot who I told the other day. I'm done. Matter of fact, it might have been Ron Briscoe from Talking Hoops. I told him, I call him. You go from Joel Embiid to Joel Embiid. It's ridiculous. Whatever.
Oh my God! Well, there was some shenanigans all around in the World Series last night. That's something I had never seen before. That play with Mookie Betts. In fact, I'm going to play it for you right now. Now, you know what? I think I have the video, Angel. This is unbelievable. Might as well get into it. The World Series. Yankees finally. It was a bullpen game for the Dodgers. You kind of thought. If I had a gazillion trillion shekels, I would have put it on the over last night. The total was 8.5. It went way over the total. You were looking good after the grand slam by Volpe. They actually showed a pretty cool thing this morning, Angel, on SportsCenter, because he grew up a Yankee fan in the Bronx, and they had a little picture of him when he was like 10 years old, sitting in the stands. What a night for him, and for the Yankees, they finally got it going. But let me scroll down to okay. It's about 5 down. Kevin DeGandhi has got it, the whole video of the play. And they could have ripped Mookie Betts' hand off. He could have broken his wrist. This is bad, what happened last night in the game. And those 2 schmucks got arrested and thrown out of the game, and rightly so. You see it, Angel?
Hold on. I had to go back out because I had the other thing prepared
okay.
to run.
Yeah, it's Kevin DeGandhi. It's about
got it.
4 down. Okay, this is the play I'm talking about. Let me play the cut from here first. Let me play the audio from it here first.
Yep.
And then I want you to play the video in a second here. Let me find. Some days I need my glasses. So bear with me a second.
You can't see without his glasses. Where's his glasses?
I can't read without them sometimes. Where the hell is that? Okay. Okay, here's it. Here's how it sounded on Fox last night.
Not afraid to throw. Wide to right by Torres. Betts in the corner. Does he have room? Fights with the fan. And they're going to say that it's an out and fan interference. So an out, 1 gone in this first. And yeah, Betts has that ball in his glove, and this fan literally tries to take his glove off. Pries the ball out of there. A for effort.
Well, he won't be watching the game much longer.
Yeah, okay, now here's the video in case you missed it last night. Here's how it looked.
Oh, right on. I had something else going on here at the same time. Here we go.
Dude grabs his glove. Other dude holds Mookie's hand, and he grabs the ball out. Never seen that before. Unbelievable. He's grabbing Mookie's hand while the other one has the glove.
Freaking nuts.
Unbelievable. And here's Mookie Betts speaking on the fan interference there.
What happened with that fan? That foul ball? It's irrelevant. We lost. It doesn't matter.
Mookie, just how is that man feeling? Because it kind of looked like, from our perspective, that your wrist kind of went a little bit back.
No, I didn't even know he grabbed my hand, so no, it's perfectly fine.
Is that about as aggressive as you've seen fans in all your time in the game?
When it comes to the person in play, it doesn't matter. We lost. It's irrelevant. I'm fine. He's fine. Everything's cool. We lost the game, and that's what I'm kind of focused on. We got to turn the page and get ready for tomorrow.
Mookie, were those guys there the rest of the game, or did they get thrown out?
I'm not sure. I didn't look back over there.
Did you get hurt?
No. Everything's fine.
A lot of you guys were talking about that you knew the Yankees weren't going to lay down. You know, what did you see differently out of them? Obviously, they hit the wall, but to kind of turn the page on their
fight. I mean, they're going to fight. I mean, if you made it this far, you have a resilient team that's going to fight the whole time. We expect that. Obviously, we didn't play well today, and they did, and that's why they won.
What was the feeling after Freddie homered again in the first inning for a 2-0 lead with just one out?
I mean, it felt great. Trying to get on the board first, and but they fought back. Can't do anything about it now.
Have you ever had an interaction with that here at the Shea Stadium with fans?
No, I've never had that, but again, it's irrelevant.
You guys have been so patient at the plate. There were a few more strikeouts today. What do you attribute that to? Was it just trying to make something happen in later innings?
I would say we're human beings, and we're not machines up there. So we had a bad game.
Human.
It's part of it. So we got to turn the page and get ready for tomorrow.
Do you feel like you're still pretty in control of this series, or when a team wins a game like this, do you worry that it might have given them a little more life?
I mean, we're up 3-1 right now. We feel pretty good about it, but you know that they're going to fight. It doesn't matter what the score is. It doesn't matter when it is. They're going to fight. And so, I mean, no lead is safe until you win the fourth game.
So, Mookie, going into this, you knew this was going to be an up and down series anyway, but some good for them and some good for you.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't make it this far on accident. So, they're a really good ball club, and they showed it tonight.
All right, there's Mookie Betts, and Freddie Freeman did it again in the first inning. Can you believe it? I think it was plus 550 if you bet 100 to win 550 that he'd hit another home run, and in the first inning, and he did it again last night.
It's huge. Freeman cracks one deep to right field, and good again! Freddie Freeman floating in the World Series. 4 games, 4 home runs. You gotta be kidding.
Unbelievable. The Dodgers jumped out to a 2-0 lead early. Obviously, they came back. The Yankees came back and won. But here's Freddie Freeman afterwards talking about it.
Obviously, felt good after that first inning. I'll look back on it after, hopefully when we get this thing done tomorrow. But pretty cool, obviously. Hopefully I can keep it going tomorrow. I think we're going to be okay. This team knows what we got to do tomorrow. We know if we're going to come out and we're going to keep those bats down and very long. So they came out swinging, and we'll try and do the same thing tomorrow. I'm not surprised. I mean, they're in the World Series. They're, they're one of the best teams in this game. So we knew what we were going to be tasked with tonight. They had their bats going today, so hopefully Jack calms them down and we score more runs than them. We know what's at stake. We had a chance to win the World Series tonight. I think we're all pretty urgent and want to do that as fast as we can, so we'll be doing the same thing tomorrow.
Dave Roberts, the Dodgers skipper, talked about the Game 4 loss in the Volpe Grand Slam.
It's challenging. I think that you've got to be certain that you can score some runs. There's certainly any guy that we use tonight would have not been able to pitch tomorrow. Landon actually threw the ball very well. And then when they got, I thought his work was done. 4 innings, most he's thrown in quite some time. And being down 2 going into that last half, it just doesn't make sense to use one of your leverage guys. Gets a pop-up, and he's, 1 hit away from getting out of it, and leaves a slider arm side to Volpe, and, that was the difference in that inning. I mean, I think that was his inning. I think he was at 20 pitches, something like that. He had Volpe up, so it's. I'm not going to go get somebody in the 3rd inning to get Volpe where he just popped a guy up and, uncharacteristic with the hit by pitch, the walk. So yeah, it was his inning. No. I mean, I think that they beat us. Volpe took a good swing. They took advantage of a couple free passes. They tacked on later. I do think that at bat wise, I think we could have done some things to get in their pen a little bit earlier. But again, at the end of the day, we're still in a pretty good spot, and we feel good. We'll be ready to go tomorrow.
Thanks to Fox for that. Here's Anthony Volpe, courtesy of MLB Network on the Grand Slam.
Anthony, you weren't born yet. The last time a Yankee hit a grand slam in a World Series game, what were you trying to do in the third?
Just barrel it up. Just put the ball in play and put it in play hard. So it's just happened.
Did you know it off the bat?
I had a feeling, but you never know with these cold October nights. Yeah.
How about that ground ball to second in the eighth? What'd you see from your vantage point? Did you think you could score easily?
I was on contact, yeah. So, I mean, all the credit goes to Doogie. What an incredible at-bat. Just putting the ball in play, and
Annoying
we're going to try and
questions.
take advantage.
I mean, look around. Your parents used to take you here when you were young to watch the Yankee greats, to have everyone here chanting Volpe, Volpe. You're smiling. What's that like?
It's incredible, but we want them to chant World Series chants, so that's what's more important.
Now, what I would have asked him, and maybe she didn't know this, I probably should have. The last time a Yankee hit a grand slam in the World Series, Angel, when do you think it was? Take a guess. Of all the great Yankee World Series teams, but when's the last time a Yankee player hit a grand slam in the World Series?
It's got to be way before 09 because that series no one hit a grand slam. So I'm going to go with 1998.
Mickey Mantle, 1953. That is the last time a Yankee hit a World Series home run. Now, that would have been a good question to ask. She should have known that, but anyway, it's all this. That was nails on the chalkboard to listen to that crap. Anyway, it felt like it was like the Flintstones, you know. Meanwhile, all right, so the Yankees come back and they win the game by a score of 11-4. Let me see what else. Any other highlights I can play? That's about it. Game 5 is going to be tonight. And by the way, you can't say, it's 11-4. They win. Yankees finally got off the schneid. As far as the bats go, I mean, they were batting, especially Aaron Judge, who went 1 for 3 last night, scored a run, but he has been one of the worst postseasons. His numbers overall, they put him up against yesterday. He's like the 3rd worst postseason batting average in the history of the postseason with so many at bats. So we know he's better than that, and we'll see. Tonight they're going to have Garrett Cole on the mound. So there's a good chance that this is going to go at least 6. It really is. I think Garrett Cole has been pitching better. I'm not a big fan of his, but in the world, he's 1-0 in the World Series. Flaherty's going for the Dodgers, who's 1-2 with a 6.10 ERA. Cole's 1-0 in the postseason, 2.82 ERA. That should be a really, really interesting game tonight. It's another game where I think it's going over the total. The total is 8, and I think the Yankee bats are going to keep it going tonight. And I'm not saying they're going to win, but I could see that being another 8-6 game. Tonight, I think the total is going to fly over the total. All right, anybody comment? You Yankee fans out there, you're alive. 727-858-6650. And of course, if you've been watching The Comeback on Netflix, where I just finished up 3 episodes, it's just amazing. The inside stuff that is in there that has not been in any of the previous documentaries that have been on ESPN or MLB Network or even HBO, Reverse the Curse, all that crap. There's some great stuff about the 2004 Red Sox. It starts in 2003 and then goes right into 2004. It is fantastic. Some great behind-the-scenes stuff from Terry Francona to Billy Beane to Pedro Martinez, Manny Ramirez, Trot Nixon, all of them. It is great. Derek Lowe, Bronson Arroyo is really digs deep into what happened and how that team bonded. So I've always said once that happened, once the Red Sox came back in 2004 against the Yankees down 0-3 and winning 4 straight, there is no such thing as it's over. I mean, talk about when the fat lady is singing, So if you Dodger fans out there don't think it can happen, it can happen. I watched it happen. I was there for all of it. And then They had to play either the Cardinals or the Astros going into. They ended up being the Cardinals, obviously, and they just steamrolled them. The Cardinals had no chance. They swept them in 4. One in St. Louis. One of the great moments of my life, being on the field when they won and calling my dad at home plate. There's something I will never, ever forget. Meanwhile, but it is. And baseball is, it's still, baseball has a lot of faults, Angel. We know that. In a lot of ways, not just marketing and everything else. You're lucky, your team is usually good in the hunt. My team, the last 3 years, they've been sort of out of it. But on the whole, been pretty fortunate with everything. There's something still nostalgic about baseball that is very different than the other sports. And maybe it's my age talking in the 50s. There's just something different about it. I'm not saying it's better or worse than the other sports when you're in contention for a title, but the nostalgia and the numbers in baseball mean so much more than they do in the other sports. So like when you hear Volpe being the first Yankee to hit a grand slam in the World Series, first one since Mickey Mantle in 1953, like that hits home. If it was something like, even in the NFL, when your Eagles won, if they had made a judgment like, it's a first Eagle touchdown pass since in playoff, since Harold Carmichael in 1980. I mean, but it doesn't feel this. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't feel like you're talking about the Phillies. Oh, Michael Jack Schmidt. Like you remember that. There's certain things about baseball and the nostalgia of it that I still think is a beautiful part of the game. People remember baseball numbers. They don't remember a lot of numbers in all the other sports. They really don't, with very few exceptions. That's why baseball is still sort of special to me. It's still why I'm passionate about it. It's still why I get upset and pissed, because the Red Sox should never, ever be out of it. And then they were in it for much of the year. Incredibly, they were in it for much of the year. My overall point is nostalgia in baseball, I think, is alive and well. And that stat last night, just blew me away. And you think about all the home runs the Yankees have hit in the World Series, and going back to the 70s, and they only won in the 80s, and they lost to the Dodgers, and then later on in the mid 90s and 2009. It's just it's amazing when you hear those numbers. So that's me being nostalgic about baseball.
Yep. No, it is good stuff. I think that, as it's always said, the 2 words that you always want to hear, which is our best ones, is Game 7. I don't know if this is going to go the distance. I seriously doubt it. Unless the Yankees pull another one off tonight. I mean, it was a good game overall last night. But I think with Volpe, I thought it was really cool when, and again, not a Yankees fan, but I just thought it was really cool that he, they showed a picture of him obviously being there the last time they won.
Yeah, I loved it. He was a kid.
Yeah. And stuff like that. And listen, as a kid, everybody knows this. Even the ladies who play sports, there's always a favorite team that you wish you were able to play for. And then when you have the ability to be able to do so, I mean, come on, how friggin' nostalgic is it? You go from being a kid in the stands to actually being down in a diamond. I mean, it's just great. Baseball's great. I know a lot of people don't like it anymore, but I still think it's always going to be my first love of sport, period.
Oh, no question. Me too. That I can tell you, the Red Sox were first for me in the right around the mid 70s, 74, 75, when I started to understand baseball, like 7 years old. It was just in my blood, and the Bruins, of course. I could say those are I can seriously say the first team that I really, really hated, and I don't know why. It's not like my dad was a big sports fan too, not as crazy nuts as I am. But it's not like he walked around the house going, Montreal sucks, the Canadiens. But it's just something that I picked up immediately from watching the Bruins, my memory from like 5 years old. And then as I got older, and 5 years old was 1972 when they won it. And and it was just something about, I don't know, it's in my blood to hate the Montreal Canadiens. I hate, I don't want to say anything nasty happened to any place. It's just a sports hate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's nothing that my dad drilled into my head. It's just something that I picked up on. The same thing with the Yankees. And my mom was a Yankee fan growing up. My dad was a Red Sox fan. My mom was a huge Yankee fan growing up, as many New Englanders were, because the Red Sox were as waspy as you can get. as a baseball team. They didn't have any Italians on the team, or they didn't have a lot of anything. When Willie O'Ree is the first black hockey player, the Bruins had a black hockey player before the Red Sox had a black baseball player. And the Yankees weren't too far behind either, by the way. So let's not let them off the hook either. I mean, everybody's so stupid. To think the Red Sox could have had Jackie Robinson, and they could have. You sit there and go, oh, my Lord. But thank God for Branch Rickey and the Dodgers back then. But there's something in bet, and I don't know why. I thank God I didn't become a Yankee fan. Thank God. But my mother, I remember the first bet I ever made was my mom. I bet her 10 cents in 1976, 10 cents that the Yankees would get swept by the Reds. Not win the World Series, swept. And I was right. It was the first bet I ever made, 10 cents with my mom.
I would have made that same bet against your mom. I would have lost. I'm horrible when it comes to it.
Well, Big Red Machine, that was one of the great baseball teams of all time. There is no question about it. All right, so the Yankees lose. They get Flaherty against Cole tonight in Game 5 in the Bronx, 8:08 start time there. Going to take a break. When we come back, we got some shenanigans to talk about in the NBA on TNT. It's great. Some funny videos. Disturbing. I'm gonna see if we can figure this out. If you heard this already, Angel, don't say it. Shaq came up with another great colloquialism for Charles Barkley. Taj, T-A-J. T-A-J. And I'll give you a few minutes to figure that out, if you can, and then we'll show you what happened in the studio last night on TNT. Some disturbing video. Funny as hell, as always, as you know how those guys are. T-A-J. Give you a few minutes to figure that out, and then we'll show you the video of what it actually means. I think you'll find it hysterical. All part of the Pete Shepherd Show here. It is October 30th, All Hallows Eve. It's a Wednesday here on the Coastal Sports Network.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Anderson windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Anderson windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
What's up, Southwest Florida? Jim and the Beef Guy here. Fort Myers, we answered your call. We're pumped to announce the opening of our second location. It's on 41 just north of the Edison Mall. And guys, nothing's changed here. The beef, the sausage, the breaded steak, our Maxwell Polish. Now serving you in 2 locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. And don't forget, if you're having a party, check out our catering menu.
Hey guys, when you're at the counter, don't call it gardenia. It's pronounced Chardonnay.
Phil Castanetti, Sports World in Saugus, Massachusetts, is New England's place to buy or sell the finest in sports memorabilia. For over 35 years, Sports World has offered the finest in sports collectibles. Last month, you might remember Tim Thomas, legendary Bruins goalie, returned on October 5th. What a turnout it was. And now a new event coming up. On Saturday, November 30th, it's Willie O'Ree. Yes, the original Jackie Robinson of the National Hockey League. He'll be signing autographs to the public, $25 each. There'll be photos, pucks, and cards available. Phone orders are welcome. Just call 781-233-7222 for more information. Sports World in Saugus. Be there.
Ion Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontp.com. Ion Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Ion Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you. You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
All right, class. Let's hear what everyone did this weekend. Jill?
Well, I raised my older sister to a big oak tree. It was at least 100 years old. My mom said I must have set a record or something. And then we went down by a stream and perched up on this huge rock and saw all of these little minnows swimming around way below us. And then I rescued my little brother from an evil slug king who was guarding him at the bush fortress. And my sister and I brought him back to our super twig fort for safety. And then we all laid out and told stories until it got dark. And the Big Dipper led us all the way home. Wow. Awesome. Where were you, Jill? Yeah. We went to the forest. It's not that far away. Anyone want to come this weekend?
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week and find the fun, adventurous you. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Don't spaz out because your team lost. Let Pete do it for you. Now, back to the Pete Shepherd Show.
How do you think that you have responded, appreciate these last 2 days of coming back from the game? Yeah, it's always tough. I think Thursday night it's tough if it's somebody still in the line because you can just move on. So we did a good job of kind of really help and then moving on, very short weeks. We love them because they feel a lot better.
I just close my eyes. All right, so we get some new music for Aaron Rodgers. We're going to do Dreamweaver by Gary Wright. It fits. It's so fitting. That's absolutely so fitting. And the Jets will lose again on Thursday night. They'll be 2-7. It's going to be fabulous. And at least I think they will. We'll see if they've come out of their zone of darkness and whatever it is. They have to fight the zone of darkness and all that nonsense. But that was the one and only Aaron Rodgers. Meanwhile, as far as quickly, Jeff Ulbrich saying how he's evaluated his imprint on the Jets' offense. Oh boy.
You said you're going to pick your spots, like to go to the offense and everything like that. Have you had to do that more lately, or have you done that more lately?
I feel like I have. That'd probably be a better question for them, but I've definitely tried to, as much as I can in this role, put my imprint on there and get some influence with that group. I feel like there's parts of the offense that have improved. I felt like the run game is especially the last 2 or 3 weeks is better. Still got a long way to go for sure. I feel like protection's been better. I feel like there's been a lot of things improved. Are we where we need to be? Absolutely not. But I think the trajectory is in the right direction.
All right, yeah, we'll see. The trajectory, the trajectory is pathetic. You're worse than last year. That is the trajectory of the New York pathetic Jets. In the NBA last night, Dallas beat Minnesota 120-114. That was a rematch of last year's Western Conference Finals there. Kyrie Irving talked about surviving T-Wolves' last-second push.
All right, Kyrie, how did you guys survive that last run that they went on?
Oh, goodness. Just very resilient and
I don't care what he says. Look at Doncic. Also, I just don't. I just don't. Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle buried back-to-back triples at one point in the first quarter. I'm not going to play that. It's 120-114 final. Denver over Brooklyn in overtime, 144-139. Sacramento over Utah, 113-96. Golden State down 20. Come back and beat the New Orleans Pelicans by a score of 124 to 106. Just a horrible performance by the Pelicans. So there you have it. It was a short night in the NBA, but it was on TNT. First time been able to play because I was on vacation last week. First time we were able to play some TNT stuff. And I got to do this in order. I got to find out the right order here. If we could, let's see. Let's start with, okay. We'll I told you to come up with TAG. Let's scroll down to NBA on TNT. And it's the third one down, Angel. Charles, can you show me those TAJs?
Here it goes.
Yeah. This is
I didn't want to look it up because I wanted to see exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. There it is last night on TNT. Shaq, Kenny, Chuck, Ernie.
Speaking about it, Charles, can you show me those TAJs?
The what? Those what?
Those TAJs.
What's that?
Those tight-ass jeans you got on.
Yo, those jeans are extra tight.
Let me see it, Chuck.
I don't even know what I'm fine, man. Go ahead and make your point on, because I want to say something about this. You want to race to the board?
Are these the same ones you had on at the podcast?
No, let him race to the board.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, man, are we going to talk? Let's race to the board. I'm not going to race to the board. Why do you don't want to show your jeans?
Go ahead, Chuck. It's not
Why don't
those jeans.
Come on, man.
The thing about the jeans is that they got the big crease that they have been ironed.
I got old man jeans on, yo. They skin tight.
Chuck, model boards and TAJs.
I couldn't. Hey, Chuck, you don't want to race to the board. We want to see the jeans.
Speaking about it, Charles.
All right, now scroll up one, and then we finally, Chuck gives us the twirl on the TAJs. This is just.
Oh, boy. It's going to be good.
This is so bad. His ass is bigger than the whole planet Earth.
It's always in fashion. Inside the NBA is, especially when it gets to Chuck's fashion.
What are those?
Kenny, the first one to notice these and make something out of it.
Jeans. I couldn't even get around. Yeah, come on, man.
What are you doing?
I was trying to spin around.
BBL, Chucky. You got a BBL this summer, Chuck?
Chuck, you can't have.
Let me see that again.
He's got a stitched-in crease in the front and the back. I got a crease, man.
Stop it right there. Stop it right there. Stop it right there. There you go.
That's stitched in. Oh, baby. Come on, man.
The look of stunned disbelief by the crew members in the background. That's all.
They were just excited.
Got some TAJs, baby.
What's TAJ?
Tight ass jeans. It's always in fashion.
His butt is J-Lo times 4. I mean, it's unbelievable. You wonder how, and you know, the round amount of rebound, because it was tough to get around him back in the day. Wasn't the tallest guy in the world, not the shortest guy either, but still, I mean, that butt, you could block China with that thing.
Oh, man.
Oh, my God. We got more shenanigans from them. If we could scroll down a couple more, Angel, it's under the Kevin Negandhi one, under that, NBA and TNT. This was at the beginning, I believe, in Studio J last night. Some spooky things were going on. Spooky things happening in Studio J last night on TNT. Pre-game.
Jeez.
I thought the trade was a win-win for both teams. I truly believe it. I think when the Knicks get their stuff together, Carl's going to be.
So that apparently the smoke machine's going a little haywire over there, Chuckster. Hey, you can thank Steve Fiorello for that upstairs.
I thought Snoop was in the house.
I thought Shaq had opened a new hookah bar.
Y'all tried to kill me, man. I've already dodged some bullets literally today. Now y'all got me out here, can't even breathe. I do. I think this trade going to work out fine for both teams.
That's not. You know who that is? That's that dude over there, man.
What?
It's a whole thing.
What are you talking
killing us over here?
Bro, what are you talking about?
It wasn't on me. Now it's on me. So it's you. I know that is a Shaq. That is a Shaq.
That does have Shaq's fingerprints.
That's Shaq's fingerprint. That is not upstairs.
Hey, let your man complete his thought here. This is important.
I think it's going to be great for both people, both teams. I truly do. I think that Julius Randle.
Where's Khalifa? We over here so when you get your point out.
It's hard to talk when I can't breathe.
It's probably really not too good for you. Hey, ease up on
Ernie,
it.
my hands right there the whole time. I think Julius Randle is going to have the hardest learning because he's a one-on-one player. I think Kenny always has a point. 3 dribbles, pass it. 3 dribbles, pass it. Don't dribble 5 to 7 to 10 times going one-on-one because he's playing with other really good players now. So the game is going to become easier. He's the second options on this team. Man, quit smoking over here, y'all.
Yeah, this is enough.
Okay.
Great stuff. Great stuff last night on the TNT crew. There's no question.
How did they not? Listen, I know. There's obviously a 0% possibility of bringing them back. How do you screw that up?
Oh, it's all money. It's absolutely ridiculous. You're absolutely right. It's all money. And it's bad business. It's absolutely bad business. I mean, that is by far the best pregame, studio, halftime, and postgame show in the history of sports.
Yep.
There isn't even a close second. There isn't even a close second.
Yep.
In my lifetime anyway. So they're fantastic. We'll probably. I don't know if we'll have time to play it again because we are jam-packed today, starting at 8:30 with Bill Sparrows from the Boston Herald and senior betting analyst at bookies.com. DeAndre Liu covers the Tampa Bay Lightning and also now is not only covers the Lightning for a bunch of places locally up in Tampa, but now is on the national scene on the NHL Network. And then Mia O'Brien, who also should be on the national scene as well. She is a little bit of ESPN basketball, but she covers the Jacksonville Jaguars. She will join us via phone because she has to go talk to Doug Peterson on the way and doesn't want to do the phone thing, do the video thing while she's driving, which I don't blame her.
Yep.
So we talked about the tap out yesterday with Anthony Richardson, and yes, there was no question in my mind that Joe Flacco was going to be the starter. He was named the starter yesterday, right around the Pat McAfee show. And speaking of that, here is on McAfee, Adam Schefter talking about the situation.
Indianapolis Colts are going with a quarterback change. Joe Flacco will be starting this weekend instead of Anthony Richardson. This comes fresh off a day of every person that's been involved with the NFL saying that a quarterback can't tap out. That's just not how it works. You can maybe if you're strained or injured, but just to say you're out of breath and to tap out of a game, that is obviously something you're not looking for in a guy to lead a program in a franchise. They've talked about a lot of his stats. I think Anthony Richardson is a very good football player at times, but he is young. He's going to make mistakes. There's been drops too, so his completion percentage, which has been talked about a lot ad nauseum as being a potential historically NFL bad completion percentage. I think there's some more to context to that story, but ultimately, why do you think this decision was made to go to Joe Flacco? And what are you hearing from the Colts organization, who I am not talking to because I don't want to know? And what I said yesterday, I think who knows how they took it and how they heard it, because it's the first time I've ever said something like that about the Indianapolis Colts. Colts fans are pissed off at me for even saying it. Now Joe Flacco's a quarterback. What are you hearing from the building, Shefty?
You know what the amazing part about this is this morning, I got a call that this was happening. And I reached out to a couple of people to confirm, and I spoke to some people on other teams. And when I said, hey, my sense is that they're benching Anthony Richardson, the reaction I got from some very smart people was like, of course they're benching him. Like it wasn't even an option.
Okay.
That, I mean, I couldn't believe how strong people were. And so when I heard that, I'm like, okay, this is happening. This is happening. And, you know, you're waiting for confirmation. They met as an organization this morning to go over it. They obviously broke up those meetings. My understanding is that they have informed each quarterback, and now the move has been made. And it's a seismic move on a lot of levels because you're benching the former 3rd overall pick, who now becomes the 2nd quarterback in that draft class to be benched, Bryce Young, number 1 overall pick. Now, Anthony.
Yeah, and rightly so. Look, I heard Edwards. Whoop.
Yeah,
sorry.
not a surprise. This is interesting for me, though.
Let's play this also. Why not? This is Jeff Saturday on as well. But this is not surprising. I wonder if he's going to be fined and suspended even too by the team. That wouldn't shock me either.
Into this move.
Yeah, not a surprise. This is interesting for me, though. I understand them benching him now. I'm interested to see how this continues. When you think about what the Colts went in, being the 4th pick in the draft 2 years ago, you think about where Stroud is, where Caleb Williams is. I mean, you think about the young development of players, even go all the way down to like Bo Nix, and then think about Jaden Daniels. And here's the guy you picked 4th, and you're going to bench him because of this. I totally get that. That's not a surprise. But for how long? Because the Colts have done this for, 8 or 9 years since Andrew Luck retired, however long that's been with the older aging quarterback, whether it's Phillip Rivers or Matt Ryan or, you kind of name it. At some point, your organization is going to have to move forward with what you have. I'm just not sure how long this lasts or what. Flacco would give them a better chance to win, and everybody knew that. That's not what that you have to develop him at some point. 4 games last year, however many games he's missed this year. It's a bad situation for the Indianapolis Colts. I don't care if Flacco comes in and plays lights out. For the future of this organization, this is not the direction you want to be going.
And this has to be a hit to Anthony Richardson's confidence because when you go to that locker room, I'm sure you've been in those locker rooms before. You're a player. You don't want to hear your quarterback say something like this. How does Anthony Richardson get his confidence back after this?
Play better. Listen, it's a simple solution, and that's the great thing about football. Everybody talks about talent equals tolerance. That's not the truth. The truth is success equals tolerance. Anthony Richardson has been struggling on the field as well, right? He's thrown errant passes. He hasn't done what's expected of him. The dude comes out and starts balling, everybody will forget this. The problem is you're struggling and you did this to yourself. That's a massive problem for the Indianapolis Colts. Again, when you talk about you want him to be the future of your organization, he can't have a completion percentage of under 50% for 5 games.
And to his point, Jeff Saturday, one of the best centers back in the day, and certainly Peyton Manning is never going to tap out on a play. Look, maybe it's only 1 game. It's obvious that he was going to get suspended. I mean, it's too bad if his confidence is. You can't do that. I mean, you just can't do that. So total QBR this year, Flacco 73.7, Richardson one of the worst, 38.4. Touchdowns interception ratio, Flacco 7-1. Richardson, 4 touchdowns, 7 picks. Completion percentage, Flacco, 66%, Richardson, 44%. And yards per attempt, 6.6. Richardson hasn't beat there, 7.2. The bottom line is Flacco should have been never benched anyway. He should have been starting the whole time. That's the whole thing. So, I mean, Anthony Richardson, there was big question marks coming out of Florida because he didn't play all that much. I was confused by how high he went in the draft in Indianapolis. 3rd or 4th overall, whatever it was. I thought it was way too high for somebody who had not shown a whole hell of a lot. Flashes at Florida on the field, but lack of playing time. And he went and, they took a real shot with him. So I am not surprised by any of that stuff with him. I'm surprised. Herm Edwards came right out and said it on Monday. He thought not only was he going to get benched, suspended by the team for a game and fined. And I would not be surprised, Angel, if he is the emergency quarterback coming up this weekend when they play the Minnesota Vikings. A very, very tough game, which I expect the Vikings to win that, but we'll see. Continuing more with the NFL theme. Let me see if there's any more on that. There is not. Let me see if we have any more. But we do have some other NFL sound. But really, which I'll get to in a second, some other stuff. The Minnesota Vikings and the Jacksonville Jaguars yesterday also pulled off a deal at last night. And the Minnesota Vikings acquired Jacksonville Jaguars left tackle Cam Robinson yesterday, and adding a potential replacement for the injured incumbent Christian Darrisaw. We'll talk about this with me, O'Brien, coming up at 9:30. Also, in addition to Robinson, the Vikings receive a conditional 2026 seventh-round pick that can go away based on playing time, while the Jaguars receive a conditional 2026 fifth-round selection that could become a fourth-rounder based on playing time, according to sources there. So Robinson, who's 29, is in the final year of his deal that pays him $16.25 million this year. The Jags are going to have to pay a portion of the remainder of Robinson's salary. And Darrisaw suffered that torn ACL and MCL in his left knee during the Vikings' 30-20 loss to the Rams on Thursday. He signed a 4-year extension back in August, expected to return to full health next season. So there's that in the NFL. Elsewhere, interesting stuff going on in Detroit. The Wayne County Prosecutor's Office is reviewing a warrant request for the arrest of Detroit Lions wide receiver Jameson Williams on a concealed weapon charge, a Detroit TV station reported yesterday. The warrant request on the charge of carrying a concealed weapon in a motor vehicle was issued late last week by the Detroit Police Department, stemming from a traffic stop on October 8th. In a statement released yesterday, the DPD said the investigation, quote, continues to evolve. The new information has come to light that we are actively addressing, unquote. Another quote, we take every investigation seriously, especially when new allegations and facts emerge, and we are committed to acting in a swift and transparent manner. So we'll see what happens with that one. And before I get to more NFL news, current NFL news, I wanted to get back to, Angel, on another video. This one is from Brian Flores, the defensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings, former with the Patriots, former head coach with the Miami Dolphins. He, going back to Anthony Richardson, I'm surprised he talked about it, but Brian Flores, because they're going to be playing, he's going to be defending now Joe Flacco. He has an interesting take on the Anthony Richardson situation yesterday as well.
I think Anthony he's a young player, still trying to find his way to a degree, but still makes a lot of plays. I mean, I know there's been a lot of talk about the play where he came out, but did you watch the play? You know, I mean, guy throws a 300-pounder off him, he runs around, you know. I thought it was an incredible play. I mean, I got tired watching him, but you know, I think he's, you know, a very, very talented young player. He's a dangerous player. And on any snap, he could break a couple tackles and go the distance. He's fast. He's got a huge arm. You know, when you talk about QB mobility and off-script plays, I mean, that's what he does and keep his team in the game. Even when not every throw is, perfect for him. He still has that deep, that explosive playability, which, you have those, you have 2 or 3 of those, you're in the game.
Yeah, well, there's not enough of that. That's unfortunate, and I'm surprised he's taking that approach because if Sam Darnold ever did that right now, or back when Kirk Cousins tapped out when there was no serious injury. I mean, if you tap out because of a scramble like that, I mean, what do you think? The only quarterback that's ever done that before?
Right.
Please. I mean, that's absolutely crazy. When you think about it, Anthony Richardson, 22, benched. Bryce Young, 23, benched. Trey Lance, 24, benched. Justin Fields, 25, benched. Will Levis, 25, benched. Zach Wilson, 25, benched. Mac Jones, 26, benched. And Kenny Pickett, 26, benched. Is that a definition of a developmental issue for quarterbacks in the NFL? And is somewhat playing college football in all these spread offenses and maybe not being able to read defenses accurately for some, is that a part of it too? Has a college football game evolved to where sometimes you see some of these teams, not all, but some of them are just doing variations of 4 or 5 same plays on spread offenses, and it's the same thing over and over again. It's very hard to play defense nowadays in college football anyway, or even in the NFL, to be honest with you, the way the spread offenses are. So I don't know if I quite believe that. Some believe the NFL has a quarterback developmental problem. I think it comes down to what we talk about all the time. Play in the preseason. Get as many snaps as you can. Stop sitting. A lot of those guys were starters and didn't play in the preseason or played very little. I think that has a big part of it. Camp, you come regardless of what you think about Anthony Richardson coming out of college, and I don't think he played enough. I think he was drafted way too high. But you got to, once you get to camp, you got a chance to prove yourself. But you got to get reps. You got to get reps. You got to get reps. And it's obvious that some of these guys were sorely lacking reps in the preseason. So Anthony Richardson being benched doesn't bother me at all. I wouldn't be surprised to find off the record if he was fined by the team as well for doing that. You just don't see it. You just don't see that. All right, what else do I have here? What else is interesting NFL sound before we go to break? Here's Peter King on SiriusXM NFL on Matt Eberflus' comments about players being in position on the Hail Mary.
And the thing I think that really bothered me most about that is that after the game, Matt Eberflus, the coach of the Bears, said we've practiced that 100 times. And he said, among other things, you have one guy who's supposed to knock the ball down. And then he also said we got a, quote, back tip guy that goes behind the pile. Well, Jim, I watched that replay just as you did 8 or 10 times. I saw no back tip guy. All I saw is a Washington receiver, Noah Brown, standing all by himself.
Yeah, well, the back tip guy was supposed to be Tyreek Stevenson, who ended up being the front tip guy because he was out of play, because he was gas bagging with the fans and all that stuff. Here's Logan Ryan, pretty decent defensive back in his day, also on SiriusXM NFL Radio, talking about that play.
What I saw is one guy flexing on the fans, which is hilarious, by the way, mid-play, and then ran over in the mix. I saw about everybody on the Bears in the scrum. Everybody jumped. There was not one jumper. All 7 jumped, right? Yeah. All the receivers are in the same pile, so even if the guys are boxing out, they're in the mush. There's no back tip guy. There's no front tip guy. And what happens is a lot of times they say, well, do you pick it off? Do you knock it down? Even if you're trying to knock it down, it can get ricocheted, right? Because someone else tips it. The receiver's trying to tip it up. Not all of them can get it. So some are trying to catch it. Some, if you can't catch it, they're taught to tip it up. That's why you need a back tip guy about 3 to 5 yards behind exactly where the receiver was. Yep. And he did his job because on offense, they're doing the same thing. Not everyone's supposed to jump. They're supposed to get around for a tip. So that play is called rebound. It's a basketball play. One person jumps, everyone boxes their man out. Get on your man, box him out. Don't even look for the ball. Don't let your man catch it. There's about 7 people that did the wrong thing on that play. It doesn't normally, it's a free stat if you get a pick. So a lot of guys like, man, F it. I'm trying to go get an interception here. Free pick, right? Free stat. And it doesn't get you till it gets you. And it got him on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Well put. Dan Quinn, by the way, yesterday on Winning Time Moments.
Winning time! Winning time!
That's exactly what we said.
Winning time!
Actually, this is NFL films, obviously.
We said winning time moments. Yeah. They matter. All right? We some tougher. Hell yeah. All right? And that's our identity over and over and over.
All right, and then meanwhile, Jaden Daniels mic'd up during the Hail Mary celebration. Check this out.
Now you can step into it. Here comes the Hail Mary with the game on the line. And the ball is caught! Caught! It's a miracle!
Come on, man. Yeah.
I'm like that. I'm like that. Right? That's what we say going in and out of breaks. I'm like that. By the way, for the best articles and audio, there's only one source that provides everything you need 365 days a year to satisfy your sports crave. It's Total Sports Prep. Staff combs through the best articles and audio so you don't have to. Sports and non-sports kicker stories will leave you laughing all day long. To get your free trial of Total Sports Prep, contact them, info@sportsbroadcastingcoach.com. That's info@sportsbroadcastingcoach.com. Total Sports Prep. The name says it all. Quick break. Next hour. It's actually 8 o'clock right now in the East. But coming up at the bottom of the hour, Bill Sparrows from the Boston Herald and senior betting analyst from bookies.com will join me. Then it's ladies' hour at 9 o'clock. DeAndre Lou from the NHL Network talking about Tampa Bay Lightning. Mia O'Brien at 9:30 from 1010XL. And the co-host of Helmets and Heels will join us. We talk Jacksonville Jaguars and maybe throw in some college football as well with Florida State and the Gators. Also, Florida and Georgia coming up with the cocktail party game this weekend, even though they won't let you talk about that on, can't say cocktail party anymore, but we all know it is. All part of the Pete Shepard Show here on a Wednesday, October 30th here on the Coastal Sports Network.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Anderson windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Anderson windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
What's up, Southwest Florida? Jim and the Beef Guy here. Fort Myers, we answered your call. We're pumped to announce the opening of our second location. It's on 41 just north of the Edison Mall. And guys, nothing's changed here. The beef, the sausage, the breaded steak, our Maxwell Polish. Now serving you in 2 locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. And don't forget, if you're having a party, check out our catering menu.
Hey guys, when you're at the counter, don't call it Gardenia. It's pronounced Chardonnay.
Bill Castanetti, Sports World in Saugus, Massachusetts, is New England's place to buy or sell the finest in sports memorabilia. For over 35 years, Sports World has offered the finest in sports collectibles. Last month, you might remember Tim Thomas, legendary Bruins goalie, returned on October 5th. What a turnout it was. And now a new event coming up. On Saturday, November 30th, it's Willie O'Ree. Yes, the original Jackie Robinson of the National Hockey League. He'll be signing autographs to the public, $25 each. There'll be photos, pucks, and cards available. Phone orders are welcome. Just call 781-233-7222 for more information. Sports World in Saugus. Be there.
Ion Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontp.com. Ion Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Ion Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
To some people, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much. But that's not necessarily true. By 6 months, they're combining vowels and consonants. By 9 months, they're trying out different kinds of sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on some meaning. Especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Early screening and intervention can make a lifetime of difference and unlock a world of possibilities. Take the first step at autismspeaks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
The following is made possible by Dad.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling all over it.
The dad joke. Corny, grown-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
Why do you have to be careful when it's raining cats and dogs? Because you might step in a poodle.
And kids that spend more time with their dads grow up to be smarter, more successful.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
And with any luck, funnier adults.
Why didn't the skeleton go to the dance? Because he didn't have anybody to go with.
Dad jokes rule. So take a moment to make a moment and give your kid a laugh. It's as easy as going to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
That's really funny.
Okay, men, this is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're gonna go out there and be an all-star caregiver. It's up to you. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna go grocery shopping, cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You gotta dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments. Don't you forget about the pharmacy. I know you won't, because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. This is your time to show the world, your family, and yourself that you're tougher than tough. Now go out there and be the best caregiver this world has ever seen. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick and proud aunt. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing. But not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. 1 in 6. That little girl sitting alone at the playground, she can't play like the other kids. She doesn't have the energy because she's hungry. School lunch will be her only meal today. It breaks my heart that this is the reality in our country, but it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste. This food is then provided to families and children in need. Being a kid should be about using your imagination, learning, and having fun. These children shouldn't have to miss out on simply being a kid because they're hungry. To find out how you can help end childhood hunger in your community, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
The Pete Shepherd Show. It's fun for the whole family, if it's dysfunctional.
New York kid, bases loaded, 2 out. Cranks a ball, deep left field. Volpe with redemption.
Volpe, grand slam, was a young lad in the stands, as you saw this morning. Some of you on ESPN, and he was like 10 years old, and what a feeling. Volpe with a grand slam, and the Yankees go on to beat the Dodgers by a score of 11-4. They're alive. They are alive in the World Series. They still trail 3-1. Game 5 is tonight. Flaherty versus Cole is your pitching matchup. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. It's hour number 2 here on the Pete Shepherd Show on the Coastal Sports Network. How's everybody doing this morning? It is a wonderful, beautiful 70 degrees here in beautiful Southwest Florida in Fort Myers, and I'm sure where Angel is up in Tampa, it has got to be very, very close. By the way, let me get to Angel in a second, but thanks everybody for checking us out on the video platform. Always here Monday through Friday from 7 to 10 a.m. Follow me on Twitter and X at PShep326, Facebook, SR1029thegame.com. That is the app. That is the best way to get us. Don't listen in your car on one of the video platforms. You can, but the best way to listen to us is in the car is SR1029 The Game. We have an incredible video platform, which is fantastic, which is powered by Ion TV, CSN Florida, Rumble, Kick, LinkedIn, Spotify, Twitch, YouTube. You call or text at 727-858-6650. Bill Sparrows, Boston Herald, bottom of the hour, senior betting analyst from bookies.com. Lots to talk about with him. DeAndre Liu will join us talking about the Tampa Bay Lightning. They're in action tonight in Colorado, but a very emotional night a couple of days ago, and DeAndre was a big part of it. Now she's with the NHL Network. Steven Stamkos returns. Emotional time for him, and the Lightning won 3-2. And then Mia O'Brien will join us at 9:30 via phone as she's on her way to cover the Jaguars press conference with Doug Peterson, and they made a move yesterday that we just told you about. Gas Pump Guy says, good morning, fellas. Hope all is well. Yes, hope all is well. Angel, I got to tell you, you and lovely dynamic Debbie, some beautiful pictures and video of some beautiful dolphins yesterday that I saw and commented on as you were at Clearwater Beach. It looked, for everything that you guys have gone through and everything else, it looked lovely, and there is nothing more. Is there anything more majestic? And I've been fortunate enough to see it down here in Fort Myers Beach. People pay $90, $100 to go swim with dolphins. Haven't had that opportunity lately, but certainly many times in the last 7.5, 8 years that I've been down here, many times in the ocean. They come up to you, you don't touch them, whatever. But you had some wonderful video footage of some beautiful dolphins yesterday up in Clearwater.
Yeah, I know we had a, as we, I like to make fun of it all the time, but we were welcomed by the folks down there in Clearwater to come check things out as the beach was opened up yesterday at 11 o'clock. They're trying to jumpstart the economy again. They have to. I mean, it's still, there's a ton of work at the beach, and I mean a ton. But they're trying to have Hogan's Place is open. Some of the restaurants are open. They're slowly trying to open things up. I mean, the parking is going to be very, very scarce because of the sand, how they clean it, sanitize, and put it back. But yeah, there's nothing better than watching dolphins, especially out there in the Gulf. And you can tell the nice thing about here in the area is that I want to say 100% of the times that we've been down there to Clearwater, there's usually either been 2 or 3 dolphins, and they're never scared of people because they always come by, and when you're in the water, they're not that far away. But it was nice to actually see 6 of them, and you can just tell they're like, where's the people? So some folks went over there, as they say, bring your wallets so you can kind of re-energize the local economy. But I mean, there is just a ton of work to be done still on the Gulf side for resorts and different places. And so hopefully maybe DeSantis will speak to the hospitality environment and just tell them, hey, listen, why don't you bring down some of your prices at least so you can, get some economy pumping. But the normal parking rates on some of the garages were like $30, $40. Yesterday was $12 at some of the places you go to. And then you have, of course, you have the meter parking, depending on how long you want to. The meter parking tends to be a little bit cheaper on the street, but I mean,
well, the parking lots too. They have the meter parking in the parking lots, like around Treasure Island and all that stuff. And then you can do that.
So you pay with
$5 a day, $5 or $10 for the day.
Yeah, you pay with Park Mobile, and it makes it convenient. But I mean, it was great weather. The Gulf was 79 degrees, which is nice. You know, it's still not cold like it is over in the Atlantic side, especially up north. But it was just it's absolutely beautiful. But you can tell there's going to have to be a lot of sand pumped. I mean, from Cedar Key straight down to your neck, there's going to have to be a bunch of sand pumped back in.
So it's amazing, and hopefully things will get back to normal sooner rather than later. I'm glad to see the parking prices are down. I mean, go pay $40, and I mean, it's a license to steal money. The people that run these parking garages, it's like all over the country too. On the whole, it's so ridiculous. You know, sometimes parking is more expensive than going to the game, even. But even the beach, you should have to pay $40 to park your car at the beach. It's just ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. But like I said, it ended up being really, really freaking beautiful out there.
Yeah.
And it's, we're to put in best terms, we are super, super lucky because it could have been a lot worse. But back-to-back hurricanes are absolutely no joke. But yeah, hopefully it'll get the economy starting back up. It was in a lot of the polls, by the way, usually when you come over, as you're coming off of Court Street and you come over the bridge, you'll see obviously the lighting as you're going into over to Clearwater. But a lot of those poles were down. I mean, it was just, you can tell if you were down on the beach, you were definitely batting down the hatches. But I just hope that everything comes back so that everybody can come back down here to Florida, enjoy the time, and hopefully they'll get things back to normal within the next year or two.
Especially now in season. I mean, this is a big part for a lot of people who depend on the economy. Although, like we talked about yesterday, it's kind of like, even honest. I mean, from May until October, there's so many people that are down here now from the Northeast and the Midwest that it's just like season is almost, definitely the snowbirds are down. But when I first moved down here, I said it yesterday, you could tell the difference in the traffic patterns from May to October. It was like wonderful. Now it is just jam-packed every day. There's so many people that have moved down here because they're so sick and tired of living in the freaking cold, for 8 months out of the year, having crappy weather. So
yeah, not even that. Don't forget that we also have bowl games that normally are hosted here in the area. So I'm wondering how, because ReliaQuest usually gets up. I mean, they have 1 or 2 days activities on the beach before the bowl game itself. So I'm just wondering how they're going to put it together, because the sand dunes were pretty much, they're there, but everything around the sand dunes are gone. And so I don't know how they're going to handle it, if they're going to be able to utilize the beach at all, or if they're going to move everything over to Camping World, which is not the same because there's no real beach out that way in Orlando. So it's just, it makes
they got a few weeks. They got a few weeks, right, to figure that out. The bowl games won't start till the first one's early mid-December.
Yeah,
but hopefully they will absolutely figure it out, and then they got to figure out where the hell the Tampa Bay Rays are going to play. I still haven't heard. I was on vacation last week. Any word come out of that where the Rays are going to play, because Tropicana Field, that piece of shit stadium. But it's done. They're done there. I mean, they can't play there. They've already said it. So they've been talking about where they're going to be playing this year. It's going to be at a minor league park up in Jacksonville. Is it going to be in the shared duty with the Mar? They're going to have to play in Miami. I mean.
No, the dumbest thing that I heard was they were supposed to, I don't know why they would go to Oakland, California. It would make absolutely no sense. But supposedly that's what they're talking about as far as going out there. It doesn't make any freaking sense to me. But I mean, obviously the A's didn't want to stay there. So you're going to take the Rays, which has nothing to do whatsoever with the West Coast, obviously other than the West Coast of Florida. But you're going to take them out there. You already have no fans, so you're deliberately saying that we don't want any fans showing up by putting them out there in Oakland.
I know it would be great. Come here down the street from me, play at JetBlue.
They should.
You'd have great crowds. It's a beautiful stadium. I know if the Red Sox are willing to accommodate, I think it would be fantastic, except for the traffic on Daniels. More traffic, but I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind going to a major league game, covering major league games that are down the street from me. I don't go to a lot of exhibition games anymore because it's just, I'm just not into it. I've been to one in the last several years, but yeah, I'd love to see the Rays come down and play if they were offered to, which I seriously doubt is going to happen. But I think it would be fantastic. Play at JetBlue. It's one of the best minor league parks all over, and also up by where you are, and maybe with a. I haven't been to the place where the Phillies play, Angel, but I'm sure that's a nice stadium too, right?
Yeah, Baker Ballpark is nice. The only thing you have to worry about is just summer storms. But, delay the game, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes. They don't last long. But, you put them out there. And I know because they want to make the fans comfortable. I get it, whatever. If that's the case, then just bring your umbrella over there to freaking to the Tropicana Field. Just rip the rest of that freaking goofy tarp off the top, which they haven't done any kind of repairs even on the inside as far as removing debris and stuff. So, yeah, freaking just bring your umbrella. You'll get a little bit of rain on you, a little moisture. You'll be all right. But
yeah,
it's just the Rays organization, as far as the ownership, I mean, they're nothing like Jeff Finnick. Nothing. Yeah. These guys are just in it for themselves. And that's why a lot of guys, when it comes to being drafted by the Rays, they're like, I'll pass.
Well, it's amazing how they've been competitive, though, most years. I mean, they're in the playoffs and a playoff hunt. They are there most years with one of the worst payrolls in baseball. So it's amazing the scout team that they have, and the general managers over the years have done, and managers they've had obviously over the years have done a very good job overall. Been very lucky to play in that crappy stadium. For the most time, you're playing with fans who are rooting for the other team. A lot of the times, anyway, whether it's the Red Sox or the Yankees or the Mets or the Cubs or the Dodgers, even there's a lot of opposing fans that come into that used to come into Tropicana Field, but we'll see what happens there. Rick M says flights have been cut with us for spring break because people know of the damage and are rebooking elsewhere. Yeah, there's no doubt, and that's a shame. And that's the second or third time in the last 7 years that's happened. The month of March here on Fort Myers Beach, where I am, used to be huge. Now it's like you can't blame them because it's tough to go in the water. It's just and everything's devastated. So hopefully things are slowly but surely starting to come back here on Fort Myers Beach. And again, I'm in the middle of Fort Myers Beach. I'm in Fort Myers. Fort Myers Beach is over there. Downtown Fort Myers is over there, and I'm in the middle. So with these storms, we've been extremely lucky not to experience any severe damage, but other people not so fortunate. But we'll see. Hopefully, slowly but surely. It's all you can do, Angel. One day at a time, right?
That's it.
One
That's
day
all
at
you can
a time.
do.
All right, let's talk a little college football here. We got some huge games coming up this weekend. And yesterday, not because it's just Miami, or maybe because it is, but Greg McElroy on ESPN says Miami, the team to watch in November.
I want you to give me the team that you believe is best set up for a November to remember.
Well, as long as people are watching their games, assuming they are surprisingly competitive, I think it's going to be Miami. If you look at it, Matt, I mean, just how things kind of iron out, some of their biggest hurdles are behind them. They've already played against Florida State. I know Florida State record-wise not good, but that's still a team that has talent. They've beaten Virginia Tech. They've also knocked off Duke. Teams that are Duke coming up this week, excuse me. So Miami really looking at kind of how things have all unfolded after this week. It's kind of smooth sailing. Now, are there some possible slip-up games against, say, Syracuse on the road at the end of the year? Perhaps, but I'd be pretty surprised. It would take a pretty significant upset for Miami to enter the ACC title game, anything other than 12-0. So I think they're poised to have a great stretch run, and Cam Ward could kind of build on already a great Heisman campaign.
Yeah, favorable schedule for the Hurricanes, but as we've seen, Greg McElroy, there is chaos around every corner.
There's no question. And look, Manny Diaz coming back to Hard Rock this weekend is going to be interesting. Look, last week, Cam Ward probably didn't even need to play, and they could have handed the ball off every single time.
Yeah.
Florida State had no answer for any of the runs by the Hurricanes on the whole. And his numbers weren't flashy for the first time all year, but I have a feeling this game will be, there's a lot of guys on that team, still a few that played under Manny Diaz, and it's not, and of course he's going to want to prove himself. I mean, Manny Diaz and Duke, and they're a pretty decent football team. They're 6-2, 2-2 in the ACC, and they come to Hard Rock as a 21.5-point underdog. Total in that game is a 54.5. Some really, really other interesting. The biggest game of the day to me is Ohio State at Penn State. That is number 4, number 3, and Penn State has had a hard time beating Ohio State and Michigan over the years. That is going to be fantastic. And Ohio State is favored on the road as a 3.5-point favorite. And I think a lot of that has to do with past performance. But I'm going to tell you right now, I'll have all my picks on Friday. That is going to be. I am leaning towards Penn State. I think this is the year that they get it done. I am not a fan of Ohio State's a good football team, but Howard at quarterback doesn't really do it for me. Aller, on the other hand, does do it for me, and I think he's the better of the two. And then we'll just see. Just crazy, fluky, goofy things happen when Penn State plays Ohio State, and not in a good way for the Nittany Lions. But we shall see. That's just one of the. That's a big-time game at noon on Saturday on Fox. Duke Miami is on ESPN, on ABC and ESPN Plus. Also at noontime, big game in the SEC, Mississippi at Arkansas. Air Force Army, another one of the Academy games. Army should blast them. Our Air Force is nowhere near as good as Navy. And Navy already clobbered Air Force. I expect Army to do the same thing. Minnesota and Illinois, a huge Big Ten matchup there. The Illini ranked 24th. Then at 3:30, another huge Big Ten matchup with Oregon at Michigan. The number 1 Ducks going to the Big House as a 14.5-point favorite. Very, very interesting. You've also got the Florida Gators and Georgia Bulldogs going at it in the world's greatest cocktail party. And we'll see how that goes. Georgia in that one is favored by 16.5. The total is 52.5. I don't know, Georgia. It's all of these teams this year that, and you don't expect blowouts or whatever, but I mean teams. Alabama, Georgia struggling. Ohio State struggled with Nebraska last week. I mean, I think the college football playoff is going to be phenomenal this year. The first time ever with 12 teams. Texas Tech at Iowa State in a Big 12 matchup at 3:30 there. Iowa State still trying to get into the group of 5, and they'd probably be a playoff team right now. The Indiana Hoosiers, oh my goodness. I mean, undefeated. They are at Michigan State, and they're 8-0. They're undefeated in the Big Ten, ranked 13th. It's amazing. K-State at Houston. Texas A&M, they continue to row to succeed. Elko, the former coach at Duke, who took over at Texas A&M. He's done a phenomenal job. They're 7-1. They're at South Carolina. Louisville. I think Clemson should be on upset alert this week. That's at 7:30 on ESPN. Clemson, the number 11th ranked team in the country, they got blasted by Georgia in the opening game. And then, have any of their other, the people that crap all over Miami are the same ones that are praising Clemson for some reason, that somehow they're better. I don't think they're better. Look at who they've beaten. They haven't beaten a lot of people either. And they got crushed by the one good team that they played. So Louisville, which we know can be explosive, and they come back from a 20-point deficit last week, or 2 weeks against Boston College and won. And now they're a high-scoring team. Watch that game. Watch Clemson. Upset alert, in my opinion. Upset alert. They're favored by 10.5 in that one. Going to be an interesting game on Saturday night. Kentucky's at Tennessee. I would also put Tennessee on upset alert here. I would. There's something about the Wildcats when they play Tennessee. It's a weird thing. The Vols are favored by 16.5. We'll see what happens. And then at 8 o'clock on the ACC Network, a huge ACC matchup. Pittsburgh, the Panthers are 7-0. They're ranked 18th. They're at SMU, who's 7-1, 4-0 in the ACC. Pitt is 3-0 in the ACC. Huge game here. And you have Pittsburgh favored by 7.5 in this one. The total is 58.5. So there's your big college football slate coming up this weekend for some of the top 25 teams. All right, another quick break. When we come back, it's a bunch of guests for the rest of the show. Bill Sparrows from the Boston Herald and Bookies.com. Senior betting analyst there will join us at 9:05. It's Deandra Liu will join us via video. We'll talk some Tampa Bay Lightning. She covers the Lightning and now is also covering them for the NHL Network. And then Mia O'Brien at 9:30 from 1010XL and co-host of Helmets and Heels will join us at the bottom of the hour at 9:30. We'll talk Jaguars and Gators and Georgia and Florida State and all that good stuff. All part of the Pete Shepard Show here on a Wednesday on the Coastal Sports Network.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Anderson windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Anderson windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
What's up, Southwest Florida? Chicken and Beef Guy here. Fort Myers, we answered your call. We're pumped to announce the opening of our second location. It's on 41 just north of the Edison Mall. And guys, nothing's changed here. The beef, the sausage, the breaded steak, or Maxwell Polish. Now serving you in 2 locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. And don't forget, if you're having a party, check out our catering menu.
Hey guys, when you're at the counter, don't call it Gardenia. It's pronounced Chardonnay.
Phil Castanetti, Sports World in Saugus, Massachusetts, is New England's place to buy or sell the finest in sports memorabilia. For over 35 years, Sports World has offered the finest in sports collectibles. Last month, you might remember Tim Thomas, legendary Bruins goalie, returned on October 5th. What a turnout it was. And now a new event coming up. On Saturday, November 30th, it's Willie O'Ree. Yes, the original Jackie Robinson of the National Hockey League. He'll be signing autographs to the public, $25 each. There'll be photos, pucks, and cards available. Phone orders are welcome. Just call 781-233-7222 for more information. Sports World in Saugus. Be there.
Right now, our country feels divided, but there's a place where people are coming together.
I gotta tell you, I was nervous to talk to someone so different than me.
Me too, but I'm glad we are.
Love Has No Labels and One Small Step are helping people with different political views, beliefs, and life experiences come together through conversation, and it feels good.
Wow, your story is so...
Interesting?
Yeah.
When people actually sit down, talk, and listen to one another, they can break down boundaries and connect as human beings. At lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep, you can listen to amazing, life-changing conversations and find simple tools to start a conversation of your own.
I know one thing. This conversation gives me hope.
It gives me a lot of hope, too.
Take a step toward bringing our country and your community together by having the courage to start a conversation at lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep. A message from StoryCorps, Love Has No Labels, and the Ad Council.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? I mean, they go back to college, learn new instruments, start skateboarding.
Whoa!
Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back.
Gnarly move, Dad.
Thanks, sweetie.
So wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Don't spaz out because your team lost. Let Pete do it for you. Now, back to the Pete Shepherd Show.
Andre up the middle. Back to Forster. Shoots wide. Wow, that was a rocket. There's a lot on it for a guy standing still. He scores. Forster got a second chance and he rifles it 5-hole. 1-0 Flyers.
Well, that first shot was an indication. I mean, he's not skating forward, and he just risks it and just misses blocker side.
My team stinks right now. Bruins shut out again for the second time in a couple of games here to Angels Philadelphia Flyers last night. 2-0 the final at the Garden. Maybe because we so spoiled the last couple of years. Hard to see that this team is 4-5 right now. I still think there's enough talent. They'll get it together. But a little disturbing. But I mean, maybe we're a little spoiled because we're used to seeing them win 12 games in a row and being at the top of the Eastern Conference Finals the last couple of years before bowing out to the Florida Panthers. But nevertheless, with that said, we bring in the one and only Bill Sparrows this morning from the Boston Herald and senior betting analyst from Bookies.com. And I think you had a tweet that said, "What the hell has happened to my team?" Anyway, Bill, good morning. Thanks for taking a few. How are you?
You know, the Bruins, I'm not political here, but they are playing with all the fervor and excitement of Joe Biden at nap time. I mean, they're just dead on the ice. There's no chemistry. There's no, I mean, they had a 5-on-3 last night. I mean, it looked like they were shorthanded.
Yeah.
I hate to say, lack of effort, because I know these guys are professional athletes and I'm sure they're trying, but it's not working. I asked around. After I asked that question, I checked with some hockey people that I trust, and the response I got was they're too old. And, they're certainly playing like that.
But I mean, they outshot the Flyers 21-12 last night in the first couple periods. I mean, the effort.
But are they getting?
They're not finishing.
They're not getting to the net. They're not getting the puck to the net. I would rather them shoot than not shoot, but they don't have a sniper aside from maybe a Pasternak at the right moment. They don't have somebody who can put it past a goalie like. Again,
Erickson was very good. Let's not take away from Philadelphia's goalie last night.
No,
he was very good. He robbed Pasternak a couple of times in that game. But I agree with you. Overall, it's been.
I mean, they're not playing aggressive. They're not playing aggressive to the net. And I don't know if it's he's got to keep changing the lines. There's no chemistry there for sure. I mean, 100%. It's like one guy doesn't know what the other guy's doing. And maybe it's just I don't know tired. I have no idea. I wish I did know. And that's,
I know, but if there's a silver lining here, I'd rather have this happen now than if they start
Well, you could argue that this is
and then get rid of it. I think the disturbing stat last night has been the faceoff circle getting 30-21 in favor of Philadelphia. That's more key to me than being outshot 21-12.
Yeah.
You're losing 9 faceoffs. That's huge, and you can't.
What killed him? What killed him in the playoffs last year was losing faceoffs. I mean, that was I don't want to get knee deep into hockey stats, but. That was the key stat. The last 2 times they've been eliminated in the playoffs, they couldn't win faceoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So perhaps that's an area that needs to be addressed one way or the other.
And Patrice Bergeron back, was a big part of the reason why those numbers were so high back in the day. He was absolutely phenomenal, one of the best faceoff centers in the history of the NHL, in my opinion. And as far as winning faceoffs, amazing. So I mean, I expected those kind of numbers to go down, but with all the wins they've had the last couple of years, and yes, they've failed outside of beating Toronto like everybody does in the first round of the playoffs. And there's still people out there that think if they don't win that Game 7, Jim Montgomery might not be here. I'm not one of those people. I'm still look. We're 10 games in. They have 9 points. They're at the bottom of the Atlantic, but it's so way too early. I'd rather them be 4-5-1 now than go 4-5-1 towards the end of the season, going into the postseason. So
I'd rather have them be 4-5-1 than 3-4 in the second round of the playoffs. So I'll see a win better. Of course, with the Jacobs family, as as a longtime student. I mean, Jim Montgomery keeps his job until they miss the playoffs, and then when they miss the playoffs and they miss those playoff gates, then he's gone. So if you want Jim Montgomery gone and you're a Bruins fan, you want them to miss the playoffs, because that's the only time the Jacobs family even realizes they have a hockey team, is if they miss the playoffs and they miss the playoff gate.
Well, yeah, no, I can't disagree, and I also think you haven't heard from Charlie lately as well. I haven't heard much out of him, which maybe is good. But I want to hear more. We're probably going to hear more from Cam Neely and Don Sweeney unless they straighten this out. They play. I think they're in Carolina on Thursday night, and we'll see what happens.
It's funny you mentioned Charlie Jacobs. He had his big flex. After the Celtics won, he was out there strutting, saying, we want to win. We only measure championships, and it's like, well, you've won one in 50 years. I don't know. What are you using to measure? Like the little oscilloscope that they use on like brain surgery or something? I mean, how do you measure that? I mean, you need it's like putting a Hubble telescope on a house next door to try to find a damn thing. One championship in 50 years.
Yeah. Well, they've come close enough. They've, the St. Louis Game 7 loss still sticks in my craw. And not that St. Louis didn't deserve it, because they were just more physical that night and played better. But they've had a couple of, certainly against the Oilers back and back-to-back 87, 88, and then 90, 91. I mean, they've had chances. That's the Blackhawks, the second one in 2012 or 2013. They've had opportunities and have been right there. But
my Hard Rock betting account is littered with close calls and close chances.
Now, the antithesis of that, of course, let's switch over before we get into what's going on in the gambling world and some nice articles that you've read. The Celtics look like I'm not surprised. I've never seen a team bring back their 11 leading scorers, and that's with Hauser not being able to play, and obviously Porzingis is not going to play until around Christmas. But they have not missed a beat. And there was no question in my mind. I was talking about this with Patrick Gilroy yesterday. Jason Tatum is on a mission from God. And I will be stunned if he doesn't win, stays healthy, doesn't win the MVP. But it is a joy to watch this team and to watch Little Pritchard. I don't know why that name hasn't gone viral. I started that a couple years ago, calling him Little Pritchard. He is phenomenal, fearless little net that he is, and doesn't give a shit where he chucks it up. He's confident, and I'm confident every time he throws it up. He's going in. He can make layups. He makes plays. 28 points the other night. Jaylen Brown got all the accolades with 30, but Pritchard was a big part. They're down 53-50 at halftime to Milwaukee. I felt like they were up by 20. I'm like, no problem. And then they steamroll them in the third quarter in the second half and go up by 17 and cruise to an 11-point victory over Giannis Antetokounmpo and Lopez, who looked like he was going to put up 100 at one point in that game. Everything he threw up went in. But it just goes to show you some of these guys. And the way, can you believe I'm going to say this, some defense that is played in the NBA by the Celtics. They are a true pleasure to watch. Very lucky that we have this team right now.
Well, we remember Admiral Yamamoto famously never said, all I fear we have done is awoken a sleeping giant and filled him with terrible resolve. Well, Steve Kerr is our Admiral Yamamoto this year. He has awoken a sleeping giant and filled him with a terrible resolve. The Celtics play the Warriors on Wednesday night at home. I'm dying to see the props in the line on that game. I swear to God, I think Tatum might hang 70 on him. and Pritchard is left open to shoot because you have other guys on the floor you have to guard. And the other night, Doc Rivers reminded us why he's been fired by every team in the NBA and 5 teams in the NFL. I mean, he simply cannot coach basketball. And it's a shame for me to say that because I was at Marquette with him at the same time he was there.
I didn't know you went to Marquette.
Yes, I did.
Oh,
I have to tell you my Chris Farley story someday.
But Doc was after. He was on Al McGuire's the 77.
No, he came in 82 and played for 2 years and left. McGuire had retired in 77. His coach was Rick Majerus.
Oh, Rick.
Hank Raymond.
Rick Majerus came over from Utah, and we loved him. I loved Rick Majerus. I mean, the personality, and he's a portly fellow, but. He was something else. He was character. He was a character and a pretty good coach overall. But then you guys had Tom. Then what's his name? Who'd you guys have? That goofy guy reminds me of Mike McDaniel. You had that goofy guy before Crean got there, who I hated because I have one of my best friends in the world, Pete, who lives in Massachusetts. He went to Marquette, so I hear about Marquette all the time. I used to tolerate Marquette until he went there, and then.
Well, I won't bring it up. I won't bring it up anymore.
No. I'm just but it's great basketball tradition, no question about it. And look, they're in the Big East now, so I'm a Big East guy. So I root for them when they're not, as long as they're not playing Providence.
I won $300 the day they beat UConn in that Big East semifinal game because that was the day that they launched sports betting in Massachusetts, and I went up there to cover it. So I used all my bonus bets and hammered that game, the line, and hammered the spread, and they covered both. And I won a nice chunk of change from Massachusetts Gambling Commission cut on that. I helped them fund, whatever it is they fund up there. But no, I won a nice chunk of change on that. That was, like basically the last game UConn has ever lost that mattered was that semifinal game to Marquette.
Yeah. Watching the World Series and, see Mookie Betts, you see Verdugo, you see Kiki Hernandez, what's his name, the relief pitcher's there as well. You had a great stat this morning on Twitter since the Red Sox dealt Mookie Betts. They're 359 wins, 360 losses, a very below mediocre 499 winning percentage, including the postseason. And yes, that...
it's 719 games. It's an odd number. You cannot mathematically get any closer to mediocrity. No. Over 719 games. And it is mathematically impossible to get any closer to mediocrity than the Red Sox have been since they traded Mookie Betts. And, that was sort of the basis of my column in the Herald today. And I just think, and I love the comeback. I thought it was great. I think it's great what the Red Sox are doing with 2024. I have zero problem with it. But, since we're looking back at the past, you have to look at the big blue light in the rearview mirror, and that's Mookie Betts. who's going to win his third World Series in 7 years, sometime in the next few days, if not tonight. And I think in the same way you can never talk enough about 2004. And the same way you can never remind people enough of how badly the Red Sox screwed up with Mookie Betts from the get-go, from when they took him to arbitration before 2018. That poisoned the well. I talked to him.
I agree.
In 2016 and 2017, and even though he's a Tennessee kid, he's not of Boston, he's not of New England. He had liked it, and he would have stayed had they put the money up there. And again, this is why I wrote this today. That decision was really the beginning of the regression of the Red Sox to where they are now. That was the first time they said, we're not going to pay our guys. We're not going to, Mookie, homegrown guy. You can throw Jeff Bagwell in there if you want to split hairs. I think he's the best homegrown ball player the Red Sox have had since Jim Rice. I don't know anybody who came up in their system that was better than Mookie in the last 50 years. And you want to argue Jeff Bagwell, okay, but he never played for him. But that's pretty much it.
So, you could put Dustin Pedroia.
Yeah, that was Pedroia would be the other argument.
Fred Lynn, obviously the gold dust to him, and Rice.
Well, Lynn and Rice came up at the same time.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But I'm talking about after Rice's retirement.
Yeah.
Pedroia is the only other guy, and unfortunately for him, he stuck around a year or two later. He would have retired with a 300 career batting average. He screwed himself the last 2 years he played.
Yeah.
But you want to have that discussion, that's fine, but that's it. You're talking 50 years of player development, and this was the best guy or maybe 1A, and they literally didn't even try to keep him. And they gave him away for nothing. And I put all this in my column. I try to be fair, and I read a lot about this over the weekend because I knew I was going to write this. And the best argument was, well, if they had traded or kept Mookie and Price, they would have gone over the luxury tax, and they would have lost the compensatory pick they used on Roman Anthony.
Yeah.
So, they fiddled while Rome burned, and they got Roman Anthony in exchange. That's Red Soxian as it gets.
Yeah, you mentioned the comeback, and when they first announced this a few months ago, this was going to come on, I was a little skeptical. I'm like, I've seen 4 Days in October. We all remember the Reverse the Curse thing that was on HBO many years ago, like the year in 2000, the year after that. I thought I saw and seen every behind-the-scenes stuff of Red Sox. Not to mention the fact I was there for it, in 2003 and 2004 at all the stadiums, New York, Boston, and St. Louis. But I was pleasantly surprised about how well the comeback was. And it started with 2003, and then when obviously the last two episodes talk about the whole 2004 season and coming back with the Yankees and all that. But what I loved was the Billy Beane stuff, because Billy does not do this stuff at all. You don't hear from him very rarely during the regular season, even during the highlight of the Moneyball days and all that stuff. I thought his stuff was fascinating. And the one thing I did not know, Bill, we knew that he was offered $12.5 billion by the Red Sox and by John Henry be the GM. But I did not know that it was basically a done deal. He talked about popping the champagne. It was done. And then 48 hours later, just like in the movie, where he said, look, I just got divorced. I wasn't going to be 3 time zones away from my 12-year-old daughter. And, I made the decision once about money, taking the bonus money from the Mets instead of going to Stanford, and I wasn't going to base my life on that again. So very, very similar to actually exactly what was happening in the movie. And you would think if his daughter was 17 or 18 years old, he probably might still be the GM of the Red Sox. But he said, hire Theo, after he turned it down, he said, hire Theo Epstein. He's the smartest person in the room. So that's the kind of footage that I had not seen before in any of these other documentaries that I loved.
Oh my God, it was terrific. And there was so much of that in the thing. And I'll probably have to watch it 3 more times.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everything.
Yeah.
It was so well done. And I made a point to note that in my column. I want to give Barnacle's kids credit. And as I said in the column, they did not have to plagiarize or make up anything. It was all genuine. It was all legitimate. They did a great job.
Mm-hmm.
I really loved it. I loved the Theo stuff. I love that line Theo had about Kevin Millar, where he said Millar doesn't have an unspoken thought in his head. I thought that was brilliant.
That's
the stuff about the microphone, which I read about beforehand.
Yeah.
That was new.
I mean, they talked to Kurt Schilling, and they did a great job of translating his German into English. They went to the bunker in Argentina.
He's in rough shape. I will always have a spot in my heart for Kurt Schilling.
I love the guy
for a lot of reasons. And obviously, he was battling cancer, and he did not look.
No, he does not look well.
But he sounded fine. But I thought overall he did a great job. The Francona stuff was freaking fantastic. I mean,
all of it. It
was Bronson Arroyo.
And that's what made this so good, because we've seen the footage, right? We've all seen the same footage. But what made this documentary good was we really got the backstory. It was like everybody got involved. I mean, they exhumed John Henry from the crypt. I didn't know he could come out during the daytime. They were filming him, and it was during daylight.
I was waiting for his body to burn.
Yeah, I don't. God only knows, what potions he got from Linda before that. But he was great. Tito was great. Kevin Millar was awesome.
Oh my God!
Everything about it was wonderful.
Pedro,
I can't find anything negative to say about it. And I have to say, I got emotional watching it. I mean, I really did. And I credit they did a fantastic job. A++. But since we're looking back, unfortunately, I have to be that guy, and I have to remind everybody that the Red Sox colossally effed up with Mookie Betts.
They did, and I got emotional watching it too. And I didn't think I would, but I'm like that anyway. Usually, it really was something else. And Francona stuff but some of the behind the scenes stuff, like after in episode 1 when they lost to the Yankees, and there's this kid, I don't know how they did it, how I never saw this footage before. Remember, Theo's like in the back with all the luggage. Everybody had gone and left the stadium, and he's just there kind of roaming around. And so, there was stuff that I'm like, who is filming this? Back then that we never saw it. Yeah. And it wasn't like, in Boston, like channels 4 or 5 or 7 or some of the other New England states. I don't know who was filming that, or the Red Sox were thinking about doing a documentary 20 years later and somebody just happened to be filming. But there's a lot of stuff there after a lot of those losses, and you go, wow, nobody punched the cameraman or anything. It's like, wow, we never saw this.
Well, they had the documentary filmers with this year's team. Don't forget, they have the Netflix. They're allegedly having a Netflix documentary about the 2024 Red Sox. They were filming that all year. I think that's going to be called The Come Down. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but I thought overall it was, I recommend it highly. I don't care if you don't like this. It doesn't matter. If you are a baseball fan, you have to
100%.
You have to watch it.
Great.
And, we'll see if the Yankees can pull their own version of it.
There you go.
They may have a shot at it tonight. I mean, Garrett Cole's been pitching better than Flaherty. So I would not be surprised if the Yankees won tonight. I think it's going to be another high-scoring game. I bet the over last night because of the bullpen game by the Dodgers. And you knew the Yankee bats were due to come alive. And up until last night, though, Bill, in this series, I think it's been interesting because it's not like we know the Yankees haven't been hitting with runners in scoring position, but the Dodgers pretty much haven't either, except for Freddie Freeman. But last night was a different story. And it's not that the Dodgers were 3 games like that much better than the Yankees. They're just a tiny bit better in all phases of the game leading up to last night. But look, I think the Yankees have a shot to make it 3-2. If Cole pitches like he has been the last couple of starts, we might be going back to LA 3-2, and then the Yankees are going to start watching the comeback on Netflix and try to channel who would ever have thought you'd say this? The Yankees trying to channel the 2004 Red Sox.
Well, the best part about this World Series is that the only way that the Red Sox could be redeemed in a sense where they could say, screw you, Bill, Mookie Betts didn't win the World Series, is if the Yankees do what the Red Sox did in 2004. So it's like you got John Henry rooting like hell for the Yankees right now, so he could say, oh, Mookie's overpaid, overrated. He blew a 3-0 lead in the World Series. That's literally the full circle of it. We've come in 20 years.
No question. After Sunday's game, the Patriots could get outscored 800-0 the rest of the way, and I'll be happy. There has been nothing more satisfying for me this last couple of days. I laid off of them today than to make fun of the Jets and to make fun of their fan base and to make fun of the Mike Greenbergs of the world and all these people, Rex Ryan, who's now come around. I quote, you know this, I quote Herb Brooks all the time, and I say it specifically about the Jets and to a degree the Knicks. I'm not looking for the best players. I'm looking for the right ones. And then finally, after I say it here, it comes out with Rex on Monday. They're just throwing people up against the wall and see what sticks. It's a roster. It's not a team. And the Jets are going nowhere. They stink. They were better last year, which is unbelievable. They're going to lose again tomorrow night, more than likely, in Houston. And I am sitting here wallowing in all these Jets fans who got suckered in from all age groups, thinking that you throw Aaron Rodgers out there and they've got all his binkies and all this crap. The guy's still spewing nonsense about the zone of darkness and all this. It is laughable. They are a joke of an organization, a joke.
Well, they're the Jets, and the Jets post-game show on Sunday was the best. It was the best thing I've seen on TV. Maybe since the last season of The Crown or something. It was glorious. Bart Scott was great.
Yeah.
And then, Francesa was beautiful, streaming, listening to his stream. It was glorious.
I played his rant yesterday too.
And I have the Yes post game show queued up. As soon as the Yankees lose, maybe tonight or whenever. Those are two of my great joys in life: watching the Jets post game after a calamity, and watching the Yankees post game when they're inevitably eliminated from the postseason without winning a championship. Something that's happened 23 out of the last 24 years.
Bill, before I let you go, and thanks again from bookies.com, senior betting analyst, and also a great columnist for the Herald. What's new in the gambling world? Anything? I was on vacation last week in the Dominican, so I didn't see a lot of stuff with this. Anything new that?
There's a couple. There's an inside baseball. I work in affiliate. Our company's affiliate marketer. Some of our competitors have had real issues financial. There was a lot of layoffs this week for some of our competing companies. Thank goodness our company is actually hiring, so I've been blessed to work for them. And I think that's endemic of kind of the overall sort of like ebbing of growth. We had this halcyon run of 3 years where all these states were coming online, and there was a lot of growth involved. That period's cooled. Although next week in Missouri they will vote to legalize sports betting. That is going to happen.
Wow.
And so what will happen then is you'll most likely see a launch, I would guess. I don't know if they can get it up and running by March. That's doubtful because they got to start from scratch. A lot of other states had pre-existing gaming commissions and casino commissions. In Missouri, they're going to have to start everything from scratch, although they can cut and paste what Kansas has done. My guess is that they'll launch next fall, right before football season. Just because it takes so much time to get all the ducks in a row, they're going to miss out on the Chiefs possibly, making another Super Bowl run because the law won't be effective until January 1st.
Yeah.
So they can't do anything till January 1st. So you'll see a launch in Missouri, maybe 10 months from now or something like that. As soon as they can get it up and going, so they'll be full speed at the start of football season. But that's going to happen. There's tons and tons of money that's been poured in. Caesars actually opposed it for a while because they have a brick and mortar casino there, which is going to take a hit, but it's going to pass. So that's good. That'll bring it to 68% of the population of the country. That's in states with legal sports betting, and 39 plus DC. Next year we'll have to look at Georgia and Texas again, but at least you'll get Missouri up and running January after this vote next week.
Bill, awesome stuff as always. Thank you so much for taking it. You're great to reminiscing, and the comeback. I'll probably watch it 2 or 3 more times. I'm sure in the next.
They got to come back, and next year we'll have to come down, and then we can watch Mookie Betts win the World Series again.
All right, man. Thanks so much. Always a pleasure. We'll talk to you soon. Appreciate you.
All right, Pete. Thanks.
All right. It's Bill Sparrows, great columnist for the Boston Herald and senior betting analyst for bookies.com. Quick break, Angel. When we come back, DeAndre Liu will join us. We'll talk some Tampa Bay Lightning hockey and the emotional game that happened the other night against the Nashville Predators and the return of Stamkos. It was pretty cool. as well. And Deandra was right in the middle of it. And we'll talk to her next here on the Pete Shepherd Show on the Coastal Sports Network.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Anderson windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Anderson windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
What's up, Southwest Florida? Jim and the Beef Guy here. Fort Myers, we answered your call. We're pumped to announce the opening of our second location. It's on 41 just north of the Edison Mall. And guys, nothing's changed here. The beef, the sausage, the breaded steak, our Maxwell Polish, now serving you in 2 locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. And don't forget, if you're having a party, check out our catering menu.
Hey guys, when you're at the counter, don't call it gardenia. It's pronounced Chardonnay.
Phil Castanetti, Sports World in Saugus, Massachusetts, is New England's place to buy or sell the finest in sports memorabilia. For over 35 years, Sports World has offered the finest in sports collectibles. Last month, you might remember Tim Thomas, legendary Bruins goalie, returned on October 5th. What a turnout it was. And now a new event coming up. On Saturday, November 30th, it's Willie O'Ree. Yes, the original Jackie Robinson of the National Hockey League. He'll be signing autographs to the public, $25 each. There'll be photos, pucks, and cards available. Phone orders are welcome. Just call 781-233-7222 for more information. Sports World in Saugus. Be there.
Ion Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontp.com. Ion Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Ion Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
Okay, men, this is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're gonna go out there and be an all-star caregiver. It's up to you. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna go grocery shopping, cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You gotta dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments. Don't you forget about the pharmacy. No, you won't. Because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. This is your time to show the world, your family, and yourself that you're tougher than tough. Now go out there and be the best caregiver this world has ever seen. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick and proud aunt. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing. But not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. 1 in 6. That little girl sitting alone at the playground, she can't play like the other kids. She doesn't have the energy because she's hungry. School lunch will be her only meal today. It breaks my heart that this is the reality in our country, but it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste. This food is then provided to families and children in need. Being a kid should be about using your imagination, learning, and having fun. These children shouldn't have to miss out on simply being a kid because they're hungry. To find out how you can help end childhood hunger in your community, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
The Pete Shepherd Show. It's fun for the whole family, if it's dysfunctional.
When the people outside of Tampa kind of got to see the relationship with the community here for doing better, what has it been like for you just to see the support and the love from Lightning fans through this whole thing?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't surprise me. I know how amazing the fan base is here, and to be able to grow up with them and to see the transition of really this whole market and this city become such a hockey crazed place to be. It wasn't always that way, and when I first got here, it was on the rise, but it wasn't obviously where it is today with obviously the success the organization has had, and it's a pretty special place. So it doesn't surprise me, and I'm certainly thankful for it.
Oh, yeah, DeAndre Lou with Steve Stamkos has returned. I was with the Predators. Has returned to Emily the other night in the 3-2 Lightning win. Very emotional. You could see it. There were tears flowing all over the place, and some reporters too. We welcome the one and only for the first time this year on the Pete Shepherd Show, or first time this hockey season, DeAndre Lou. You know her, you love her. She's all over the place. You see, I think that's your mic, that's your hand with Channel 8 there. You're now on NHL Network as well, so congratulations. Before we get into it, DeAndre, I haven't really been able to talk to you. You and Steve, you survived both hurricanes okay? Because Angel is in the Tampa St. Pete area as well. I just wanted, and I was thinking of you specifically, along with Angel, during those horrific storms. And you did okay. You and Steve, you're a wonderful dog.
Yeah. Thanks for asking, Pete. We were good. I felt very lucky. I didn't lose power or anything like that. I did evacuate for the second one, because it was looking pretty scary there for a minute. And for us, we did in Tampa, we got a little bit lucky because it went south, which avoided the surge, which is what kind of ruined us in the first hurricane. So it was just a mess of a of a couple of weeks. I'm so glad it's over with. And it was it was just a really stressful few weeks for us here in Tampa.
No question. All right, let's get into it. I know how close, what a great reporter you are. I know how close you are to the Tampa Bay Lightning. And I know sometimes being close to some Patriots back in the day, even a lot of Bruins players and Pat Burns back in the day, sometimes it's hard to govern your passions as far as keeping your emotions in check and not becoming too friendly with certain players, because you still want to do your job as a reporter, yet you want to keep up good relationships. And you're one of the best at doing that. But that was something a couple nights ago with Steve coming back, and take me through what you were going through and what that whole night was like for you and everybody else.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. I don't think people realize when you're a reporter, your job is to pull yourself out of the situation and cover, what's going on in a really honest way. And I've had to do that. I was very in the thick of it when it came to the Stamkos situation during free agency and the draft. And, I was on all those calls and I knew what was going on before it happened. And it was, it's my job. And from a credibility standpoint, I always want people to be able to trust me with what I'm covering, So, but it is tough because Stamkos was, I'm a Tampa girl through and through. Stammer is the guy, and he is such a huge part of our city still to this day. And it was hard to see him go. It really was. Honestly, it was so hard. But I feel like I've done a pretty good job covering him and doing him doing for him like what he deserves, right? He deserves to tell his story and his side of things, and he's really good about sharing his emotions and kind of just like being honest about everything. So I felt like I've done a pretty good job balancing, what's going on the Lightning side and then what's going on Stammer's side. And as a human being, I think he's just one of the best people I've ever met. So it was a treat to have him back in Tampa. I was, really excited to be able to cover him. I didn't know kind of what to expect when he came back. I didn't know, is he going to be full on like, I'm pissed off and I am a Nashville Predator now, and this is the way that I'm going with it, and love you guys in Tampa, but moved on. I didn't know. I didn't think that's how he was going to be, but you never know. Like, he went through a lot. So having him back, and I mean, we just picked up where we left off. Like, it was just like, all right, Stammer's back. And I don't know. I just felt like he's was meant to be in Tampa. And so that was kind of my vibe at the end of the day. And we did the post game and everything. And I was just like, I just thanked him for everything. He's such a great athlete, great leader, great ambassador for our city. It was really great to have him back.
No question, Deandra. And the atmosphere, I had to watch it on ESPN Plus a little bit. Well, I was watching some other things, but Emily was going crazy. The tribute was phenomenal that they did.
Yeah, they did a great job with that video. I didn't really get to, when you're in it, you're like taking on everything around you. And then when I got home, actually, I think it was yesterday morning. It took me till the morning, and I sat down and watched the video, and I was like, oh my God. But the tribute was great, and the fans were so happy to see him. I saw little kids had handmade signs outside the arena that was like, Stammer, come back, and he is a key person that helped develop hockey in the state of Florida. Like, he is the one that did that. So it was cool to see the kids out there. And then he was like walking down the street and stuff. So the fans were ready for him. Every time he would touch the puck, I could hear them screaming for him to score. And I mean, he didn't score a goal, but he had a good night. I think it was his best night since he signed with Nashville. So he said it was kind of like, it's like a zen state of mind when he plays at Amalie.
And the game was phenomenal. And I kind of was half, when I tuned into the overtime, I was kind of thinking, I wonder if half the fans want Stamkos to score the overtime goal, because if he did, he would have got a lot of cheers. But the only time that the opposing player maybe gets cheers in the visiting arena.
Yeah. No, people were asking, before the game, like, is he going to get booed if he scores a bunch of goals? I'm like, Stamkos will never get booed here, ever. Like, he could score 10 goals in one game and nobody would boo him. And I was kind of expecting, I'm like, watch this be the storybook game where he like scores the overtime goal and, Nashville wins, and there we go. There's his closure. But it didn't happen. The Lightning have a good team this year, I will say. Like, the moves that were made, they were strong moves and they were gutsy moves, what Julian did. And now they have like a very young, talented, fast team. So they were able to come out with a win. I'm assuming you were at morning skate on Monday before the game. Were you there or not? I just want to know what Coop was saying about, an emotional night, obviously, with Stammer coming back, and how he wanted to keep his own players' emotions in check and not get caught up in the moment. Did he address that at all pre-skate, or morning skate, I should say, on Monday? Yeah, a little bit. I think it's kind of, you can do the best you can with that as far as keeping everyone kind of in check mentally. But I think the guys that, are really close with Stammer, obviously you can watch after the tribute video kind of their play and the way that it went. And, those guys played with him for so long. So I think just naturally their emotions can kind of creep in. But yeah, I know Coop was trying to keep everybody straight, but then he was also like, this is Stammer's day, so we're going to give him his day. But obviously they need the points. They needed the win. They got a point out. Both teams got a point out of it. Yeah. But it's hard for a coach because you never want any type of distractions. And this was a huge distraction. I mean, even the week leading up to the game, that's all everybody was talking about. All right, Deandra, let's get into, the team that won.
Going into Colorado tonight, Avalanche started off crappy, to say the least. I know they were back. They had like 9,000 people. That was a mass unit on that team to start the season. Now they won 5 in a row. I think they got played a little crappy against the Blackhawks the other night. But let's get into a couple of things we're not used to seeing with the Tampa Bay Lightning. One, can't score on the power play. 5 of 31, right, so far, which is where they led the league in power play percentage last year. They're 5 of 31 so far, again, early on in the season. Penalty killing is awful right now, 28th at 71.9%. And Colorado, by the way, I'm sure you know this, is 3rd on the power play percentage this year. So far, again, early on, 36.4%. But special teams, if there's one, if there's some constructive criticism to be made here, it's about the power play and the PK unit, correct?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like you can look and see where the holes are without Stamkos. You can absolutely see there's a hole here, there's a hole here, and that's where Stamkos would be, right? And I think you can kind of downplay special teams as long as you want to downplay special teams, but when push comes to shove, like especially on the road, the Lightning aren't typically a strong road team. They're very strong here in Tampa. Everybody loves to be in Tampa, but like you have to win on the road too. So, they've always just over the years have kind of struggled on the road. And, when you're on the road, special teams makes a difference. And we saw that on their last road trip. I mean, a power play goal here or there, or, the PK, like they used to have such a strong PK last season. And I think the biggest issue on the power play, I think the power play is the least of my worries because they'll eventually figure that out. You have like Gensel, Kucherov, Point, Hedman. I mean, like Hall of Famers right there. They'll eventually figure that out. But the PK it makes me nervous. They have to get that under wraps. And so far, like they have a strong game and they've been able to kind of get by. You know what I mean? They're a good team and they've been able to kind of get by without it. But as well as I do, like as you get deeper into the season and especially when you get into the playoffs, like all of that has to be figured out. So they don't need to score every power play goal, but they have to be able to win that face off and they have to be able to set up properly and they have to be able to at least get a couple, power play goals on there.
Any one player so far, a newbie Lightning player that has stood out to you so far in the way he's adapted to the culture, Coops culture, the double C, I call it, Coops culture in Tampa?
Coop University. Yeah, there is. Obviously, there was a lot of talk this summer with Sergachev going and Julian picked up 2 young guys, right? JJ Moser is one who immediately comes to mind. And then also Connor Geekie, who is our rookie here in Tampa. He was a big prospect that they got. And the Lightning typically don't, you know how it is. Like they're win now all the time. So they don't typically get like huge prospects like that. But both of them have shown so much promise. And JJ Moser just immediately, he just fit in so well. And I could tell right away. I'm like, I don't know. He's just adapted to the culture and Coop's way of thinking, off the bat.
But to your point, those 2 guys, and they're not some throwaway fourth liners. I mean, Connor's on the second line of right wing, and Holzer's on the first team defensive pairing with Hedman right now. I mean, that's quite the responsibility coming into the new culture.
Yeah, 2 young guys. I mean, and Geekie, I wasn't sure where they were going to put Connor Geekie. I mean, he's young. They want to develop him. The one thing about the Lightning is they're so good at developing their players. Like they're going to put everything into it. They're going to make sure he succeeds. And I think putting him on a line with Anthony Cirelli and Brandon Hagel was so perfect in every way, from like just their play on the ice, but also personality wise, a leadership standpoint. Like those are 2 guys that just are perfect for Geekie, and they're kind of watching after him on the ice. But I don't know. Coop knows what he's doing. He's so good at it. I'm watching this season, when you have a brand new team and you lose your captain of a decade and all of these things. And he's just, I don't know, he's just developing them and putting them together and getting them to bond off the ice. And all of it is translating onto the ice right now.
And just your thoughts on Andrei Vasilevsky so far, and he doesn't seem to miss a beat. It's he's one of the best goalies in the league, obviously. But what's his mental state been, this year coming into this team?
Oh yeah, he's been great mentally. Like this season of every season, I feel like he was the most excited heading into the season because he got to rest his body and he's healthy and. I think he feels really good. Every time Vasi has a bad game, everybody just swarms him, like, in the media of like, is it time? Is he aging out? Is he this, that? But I think they also need to play better in front of him sometimes. So, sometimes when they know he's back there, they kind of lax a little bit and kind of rely on him too much. But Vassie's in a great mental state, and I think he's going to have a big season.
All right, before I let you go, more accolades to you. I'm so glad now, besides all the other things you're doing on SiriusXM NHL, right? And now you're part of the NHL Network as well, which is fantastic. So that was so proud of you. Well deserved. What's that been like for you so far?
Yeah, I'm excited. It's I don't know. I always wanted to cover the Lightning like from the beginning, and I just kind of, I just grinded it out and did whatever I could to learn as much as I can about the team and the culture and the players and all the things, because it's a different world down here. We do things very different in this market, I've realized, than other markets. And I'm excited to, I'm just excited because I'm growing in my career and get to cover the team that I love to cover. So it all works out. But
do you have any set times that you're on, or is it strictly before, after, or during Lightning games? How does that work out for you?
yeah, so like as a correspondent, and I'm actually doing it for the Panthers too. So like it just gives me a chance to have more time on air, although Lightning fans are not happy about that. I've been getting so much flack for that. They are not happy about that at all. But yeah, so it's just kind of like as things happen, that's when I'll go on. It's just like any correspondent, for even like a news correspondent, as things happen, as stories develop. If Vassie has some really good games, if Vassie has some really bad games, obviously everybody always wants to talk about Vasilevsky. So just, as there's a need, and I'm sure during the playoffs, I'm going to be very busy covering both Florida teams, because as far as it looks like,
you've been going back and forth, Amalie to Sunrise. I mean, you've been hanging out over there also, and you're talking about a contrast going from Coop to Paul Maurice. That's something.
Yeah, I don't have to go to Sunrise unless something's happening.
Okay.
Like if something big is going on, then I'll be down there. So for the most part, I get to stay in Tampa and cover Lightning, and they take up a ton of my time. So there's just a lot going on this season, and right. I'm in wave.
We just lost her. I was about to let her go anyway, but for some reason we lost her connection in Tampa. But she's always a pleasure. DeAndre Liu covers the Tampa Bay Lightning now for the NHL Network as well, for SiriusXM NHL. She's also has her local show on that local television station, I think on Channel 8 up in Tampa. You see her on weekends and all that stuff. So she's one of the best. She is one of the best, and we're going to try to have her on. Well, there she is. I was just giving you. There she is. She's back. She's been back. So in addition, so you SiriusXM NHL Network, and you're also doing locally, and we can't connect with. That's all right. Well, that's okay. We'll take a break in a minute anyway. But that was DeAndre Liu. We're going to try to have her on at least once a week, or if not, once every other week, depending on her schedule. Because she does a lot of hits on a lot of stations around the country. So always happy to have her back. But I know she's trying to beam back now. Did we get her back? I don't think we're getting her back. That's okay. In fact, Angel, why don't we, I was going to take a quick break because at the bottom of the hour, we have Mia O'Brien joining us from 1010XL, and we're going to get her thoughts on the Jacksonville Jaguars and all that stuff. Let's take a quick break here, Angel, and when we come back, we'll get ready for Mia O'Brien. We'll talk some NFL and some college football as well. Right here as the Pete Shepard Show continues on the Coastal Sports Network.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Anderson windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Anderson windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
What's up, Southwest Florida? Jim and the Beef Guy here. Fort Myers, we answered your call. We're pumped to announce the opening of our second location. It's on 41 just north of the Edison Mall. And guys, nothing's changed here. The beef, the sausage, the breaded steak, our Maxwell Polish, now serving you in 2 locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. And don't forget, if you're having a party, check out our catering menu.
Hey guys, when you're at the counter, don't call it Gardenia. It's pronounced Chardonnay.
Phil Castanetti, Sports World in Saugus, Massachusetts, is New England's place to buy or sell the finest in sports memorabilia. For over 35 years, Sports World has offered the finest in sports collectibles. Last month, you might remember Tim Thomas, legendary Bruins goalie, returned on October 5th. What a turnout it was. And now a new event coming up. On Saturday, November 30th, it's Willie O'Ree, yes, the original Jackie Robinson of the National Hockey League. He'll be signing autographs to the public, $25 each. There'll be photos, pucks, and cards available. Phone orders are welcome. Just call 781-233-7222 for more information. Sports World in Saugus. Be there.
Ion Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontp.com. Ion Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Ion Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
Okay, men. This is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're gonna go out there and be an all-star caregiver. It's up to you. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna go grocery shopping, cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You gotta dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments. Don't you forget about the pharmacy. I know you won't, because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. This is your time to show the world, your family, and yourself that you're tougher than tough. Now go out there and be the best caregiver this world has ever seen. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick and proud aunt. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing, but not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. 1 in 6. That little girl sitting alone at the playground, she can't play like the other kids. She doesn't have the energy because she's hungry. School lunch will be her only meal today. It breaks my heart that this is the reality in our country, but it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste. This food is then provided to families and children in need. Being a kid should be about using your imagination, learning, and having fun. These children shouldn't have to miss out on simply being a kid because they're hungry. To find out how you can help end childhood hunger in your community, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
You're listening to The Pete Shepherd Show.
Welcome back. It is the Pete Shepherd Show final segment today on this All Hallows Eve. It is October 30th. It is a hump day, Wednesday. I have no candy in the house except for some sugar-free dark chocolate from Hershey's. So I have to go out to get some of that for all the kiddies tomorrow. And yes, Mia O'Brien going to join us very shortly. I don't know if she's on the line yet, Angel.
Yeah.
Not, but she will be. We're going to talk about the Packers win over the Jaguars 30-27 on Sunday, plus the trade that has been made. And Jacksonville's starting wide receiver core looks like a beyond a mash unit, what they have gone through the last couple of weeks. Unbelievable. See if there's still time, see if Mia has thoughts. The Jaguars are now 2-6 after that tough loss at home to the Packers. 30-27. Anyway, welcome back. Pete Shepherd Show. Thanks for checking us out on the Coastal Sports Network and across the video platform on Twitter X. Following me at PShep326 on Facebook, SR1029thegame.com, Ion TV, CSN Florida, Rumble, Kick, Spotify, LinkedIn, Twitch, YouTube. And you can call or text 727-858-6650. Yes. Thanks for all the texts coming in. I'll get to some of them now while we wait for Mia to join us on her way to the Doug Peterson press conference. Penguins say, go Pack, go. Connor Clubhouse Cobalt says, hello all, transplant from Mass here in North Carolina. Hey, Corner Clubhouse. Thanks for checking us out, Manny. I love Manny. He says, you're still one of the best. Thanks, everybody, for checking in. Appreciate you. It's my best Ted Lasso. Meanwhile, 727-858-6650. Thanks for checking us out. While we wait for Angel, Angel's right there. While we wait for Mia.
Mia's on the line.
Mia's on the line. There she is. Mia O'Brien, 1010XL, co-host of Helmets and Heels, and a whole bunch of other stuff that she does, which she'll tell you about in a minute. Mia, thanks so much for taking a few. I know you're driving into the press conference for Coach Peterson. How are you doing?
Doing good. Hope you had a restful vacation, sir. Hope everything's going well down there.
I did. I did. My back is a little itchy from I get bronze pretty quickly because of my Mediterranean skin. But, you have that first day out there at the pool bar and you forget to put any kind of sunscreen on the back of your neck, shoulder blades and that stuff, because you're sitting at the bar talking to people in a pool and you think that, anyway, you know how it is. You've been there, done that.
Yeah, I wish my Sicilian would actually show. So I'm very jealous that you can bronze, because that is what you can say for my mother, my maternal grandmother, my maternal grandfather, my sister, and then there's me, and I got all the Irish skin.
Well, you're the most famous Sicilian Irish girl out there. There's no question about it, at least in the sports media world, anyway.
That is true.
Wow. I mean, we'll get to the trade in a second, your thoughts, but just going back to what happened on Sunday, another emotional game, another emotional loss, and the MASH unit that has become, I should have played the MASH unit to introduce you, the old theme from MASH, because you lose Brian Thompson, you lose Christian Kirk, you lose Gabe Davis, you lose Ronald Darby, you lose Brandon Sheff. Who else am I missing? Cleveland. Geez, Louise, Mia. I mean, God, that is tough. You just spent probably half the time talking about these injuries than you do what happened in the game.
Yeah, what's interesting, though, is, like, on the surface, you would think, Pete, that's the headliner coming out of this game. And I'm not going to call people out, but let's just say that some of my colleagues on the air, even, like, we come on the air Monday, and they're like, Doug said it was such an emotional and, distraught locker room. Mia, you were in the locker room. What did you think? And I honestly just looked at them and said, it didn't feel that distraught to me. Look, like, the Christian Kirk injury, I think, hit home in that locker room just like it did last year. There's no question about it. He is one of the most undisputed leaders on that team. So that's a reality that, I mean, it's very difficult to shake. But this idea of they were downtrodden and this was like so difficult for them. Like Trevor Lawrence was sitting at his locker and he was just looking around the locker room glazed, but almost like trying to like wrap his head around what was happening. But it was not this like devastated people punching lockers and, pointing the finger at each other. It was none of that. And I think some people had that perception of it. And I think that ultimately, as much as people keep, getting angry every time I reference that this is the second time in 3 years that this team finds itself at 2-6. And so it's not like it's somewhere they're not familiar with and something they haven't clawed their way out of before. Now, a little bit more difficult at this juncture than it was perhaps 2 years ago when you were going against the last place schedule. But nonetheless, like this group is still together, which I think is crazy to say when you had such high expectations and here you find yourself at almost the midway point and you've won 2 games. But ultimately, I haven't seen the division and the finger pointing that I have in other locker rooms I've covered. And so, yeah, it's a very weird situation. But the good news is that outside of Christian Kirk, it does sound like the rest of those injuries really day to day, week to week. And while it certainly depletes the troops that the Jaguars could potentially trot out against the Philadelphia Eagles, they've proven. I mean, look at that final drive of the game in which they were forced to run 12 personnel the entire drive. And you could argue that was Trevor Lawrence's best drive of the ball game. So that's where and look, maybe this is me looking at so much of this big picture. And is this ultimately one step backward to go 2 steps forward so that you ultimately find the right system and the right players? I don't know. But I can tell you this, it was not the bleak situation that I think a lot of people want to make it out to be. And maybe that's just my sunny disposition.
No, I think you're dead, as Mona Lisa Vito would say, dead on balls accurate. Matt LaFleur, though, dialed up that pretty decent, got into Chris Brooks' head, who dropped to the ground, could have scored. Packers tried to the Jags tried to let him score. Very, very smart football. A lot of guys just, they lose it in the moment of situational football. That was a huge play in that game right at the end that set up McManus's 24-yarder.
Yes, and it's definitely a play that it's inexcusable, Pete.
Mm-hmm.
It's inexcusable, and it's something that, for me, that's the biggest negative besides losing Christian Kirk for the season. That was the biggest negative of the ball game for me, because once is an anomaly, twice is a pattern. You have now had 2 of your last 4 games, or 4 games, yes, 2 of your last 2 home games. You have seen the opposition come in and in the final 5 minutes of a ball game matriculate right down the field with no resistance from your defense. And that was against a Joe Flacco-led Colts. I'm sure we may get to that a little bit later.
Yes.
But that was against a Joe Flacco-led Colts twice with 5 minutes to go. And now against Malik Willis, who only dropped back 4 times on Sunday after coming in for Jordan Love. And so for me, that's the biggest culprit in all of this. And I know that there's certainly a lot of blame to go around. And I know that there are those both here in Duval and around the country that want to blame Trevor Lawrence. And look, he's not without fault. He knows he shouldn't have fumbled the ball inside the 5-yard line. I would argue that's his most boneheaded turnover of the season, and it took game 8 to get there. So, hey, that's progress compared to the last 3 years.
Yep.
But at the same time, when your defense allows Joe Flacco and Malik Willis on home turf to go right down the field, that is where you have a operational issue. That's beyond buy-in. That's beyond culture. That's just, I mean, that's the part that shocks me, that there hasn't been any sort of fallout. And I'm not calling for Ryan Nielsen's job, but the fact that there was no, hey, this person wasn't in the right spot. It kind of was just like, yeah, they dialed up a good play. And it is a good play, but you also just let them leak right out and 59 yards down the sideline with one safety. I saw as soon as, and I was watching it in the tunnel, so I was watching the Jumbotron feed with the security team from the tunnel. Yep. And as soon as I saw Andre Cisco drop into the box, I went, oh no.
Oh no.
They're taking the shot over the top, and that's exactly what they did. Everyone in the stadium knew it, except for the Jaguars defense.
Well, you brought up a good point, and it's the old adage, and you said it just a little differently. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I look at it this way, though. You're not the Jets, and I'll tell you why. Here's what I don't understand. We'll get to the Anthony Richardson stuff, though. how the Jets, and I haven't talked to you because I was on vacation. I haven't talked to you since, the Jaguars manhandled the Patriots after the first quarter. I don't think we've spoken since then in London. How the Jets don't take what the Jaguars did to the Patriots and just run the ball, and come up with that crapola game plan with that team. And my favorite part, this is why, if you're a Jaguars fan, just go rewatch the Patriot-Jet game and look at the Jets. Maybe 2 other times in my life, Mia, have I seen an NFL team take a timeout to avoid a delayed game penalty, come back after basically a 2.5-minute break on CBS, come back and have to take another timeout in the first quarter because they can't get the playoff. With $1:38 to go in the first quarter, that team had no timeouts left. It was fabulous to watch for me. Fabulous to watch me. But you talk about boneheaded, idiotic, coaching, lackadaisical. I mean, there it is. One word, Jets.
Yes. That's the system that's broken. And I actually got a kick out of one of my good friends who from Iowa, not in sports, but is a massive sports fan. He texted me and said something about like, wow, I can't wait for the Jets to trade for Trevor and everything to be fixed. And I was like, dude, the Jets are, and I could say this as a kid who grew up rooting for them, the Jets are as broken as I have seen an NFL franchise right now. And it is from top to bottom, and it is sad because they have talent on that roster. But I don't know what's wrong. There is something in the water. We joke about something in the water here in the state of Florida in light of the Jaguars, the Gators, the Dolphins, the injuries, and the lack of success for part of this year. But there is something inherently wrong chemically, I think, up there. And look, I think a big part of it that you can bring back to the Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence, I think a big part of it is that so many folks assumed that they were a quarterback away. They had a great defense. Now, in terms of how economically sustainable and recession-proof is a defense, that's a story for another time that I've experienced here with the 2017 to 2019 Jaguars defense. You've got a 2 or 3 year run in there, and then you got to start retooling it. It's just the nature of the National Football League. But they truly felt with that defense, and if they had that quarterback, everything would be fine. They didn't need to worry about coaching. They didn't have to worry about philosophy, scheme. You plug the quarterback in and everything's fine. That is a lot like how Jaguar fans thought that the drafting of Trevor Lawrence would go. And that's just not reality. If anyone out there thinks that the Houston Texans just drafted C.J. Stroud and everything was hunky-dory fine, that the Kansas City Chiefs just drafted Patrick Mahomes, that the Bills just drafted Josh Allen, and everything was fixed, you are so wrong. There is so much else that has to go in to create that ecosystem to allow that quarterback to thrive. And meanwhile, the Jets are out here reverting back to the same offense of Mike McCarthy that Aaron Rodgers despised for years. And they have a potential top 10 running back, to your point, in Breece Hall, and they are choosing not to run him in efficient situations. Braylon Allen is the youngest player in the league. He has flashed at times. It shocks me to see what's going on up there. But to your point, yes. That's where I look at, and not to get, put the cart ahead of the horse, Pete, but in having conversations with various league sources over the last few weeks, if the Jaguars and Jets are to continue down the path they find themselves in, which, hey, listen, both can turn it around. Anything is possible. They do have to meet each other the third week of December, so that's of note. But if this continues down the road that many believe it is on, there is a world out there in which, of all the coaching and GM openings, the Jaguars' opportunity is the most enticing, because New Orleans, if they continue down the path that they're on, do you really want to take on the cap situation down there and not having a quarterback? In New York, how much longer do you even have Aaron Rodgers? Are you going to be in a position where you could draft a quarterback? You're going to have to pay those younger pieces on defense.
With what draft picks, though, man? They got nothing. The Jets have nothing left. They can't rebuild. I mean, that's the whole thing. It starts at the top with Woody Johnson, goes all the way to. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is not a leader. That whole team is a big pile of poop. It just is. And what amazes me, and I'm not patting myself on the back because I've been talking to you about this since the start of the season, but the people that get suckered in, the Rex Ryans of the world and the Mike Greenbergs and super fandom and green, but it's just like I'll say it again to you. I quote it ad nauseum all the time. Herb Brooks. I'm not looking for the best players. I'm looking for the right ones. You can't just throw crap up against the wall, as Rex Ryan finally admitted after listening to this show, that it's a roster. It's not a team.
Correct. Yep. And the irony of that, because I know you'll ask me at the end about this, the irony is that as I get ready for college basketball season coverage, Pete, that is actually the line I've heard from so many athletic directors and coaches in the age of NIL. We're not building a program, we're building a team. And isn't it crazy that in the college ranks, because of the portal and because of NIL, you are building teams, but yet in the NFL, you have to build a program in order to have long-term success. It's fascinating how the turntables have turned.
It is. Quick, before we get a little bit of college football out of you, before I let you go, this week's game, Jacksonville in Philly. Are you headed that way?
Unfortunately, I am not. That was a decision made a couple months ago. I'm not even going to get into that. But in light of the current record, I don't know if we actually are sending anyone. So I will instead be here for the cocktail party. I won't be covering the game, but I will be at the Florida Georgia Hall of Fame luncheon on Friday.
Well, la-di-da. And what does that entail? Free drinks and food?
We got Ruth Chris. I'm hoping we got Ruth Chris. Last year they came through. The year before it wasn't Ruth Chris, and I was sorely disappointed. For me, the headliner is Mike Peterson. Of course, I joked when it was announced in early September that he would be inducted, one of the two Gators inducted into the Florida Georgia Hall of Fame. I joked that he could have been the interim head coach at that juncture. He is not. Billy Napier is still the coach. But we love Mike Pete around here. Of course, spent a lot of years with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and just the type of guy who not only, chop wood, carry water, but is an elite recruiter, I believe, at the collegiate level. I've heard that firsthand from student athletes who he's recruited. And so great to catch up with those four Hall of Fame inductees on Friday. Also hoping to catch up with some of our other friends from SEC Network, including Laura Rutledge and hopefully Mr. Tebow. And so, it'll be a good time on Friday.
Lang.
As much as it would have been nice to get up back home to Philly, my parents are coming to visit in a few weeks anyways, and going to be looking forward to seeing all those friends on the college front.
Well, Georgia's favored by 16 in that one. You don't see a line that high for this game a lot, and I understand it. And, between, Napier and Norvell at Florida State, Norvell's situation is worse. And that contract with yet another, if they ever decided to fire him I don't know. I don't know how many tens of millions of dollars you can keep paying out to coaches who can't get the job done. But you give the Gators any shot at beating Georgia. I've seen Georgia play almost every game too. I mean, all these really, really good teams are vulnerable at some point. It's a rivalry game. You give the Gators any chance at all in this one?
I give them a chance to cover the spread, Pete. Both these teams are coming off of a bye, of course, as they always do before the cocktail party. My biggest question, and the reason I would take the Gators to cover that spread, which is down from 21, now that it's 16.5, I may be a little bit more hesitant to take the Gators to cover it. I am curious what Georgia drew up during their bye week, because the slow starts outside of the Texas game have plagued them not only this season, but dating back to last year. I know it's a point of frustration for Carson Beck. I also know that that Kirby Smart has basically said, you know what, because we can't start fast through the air, we're just going to go back to who we are, which is run the ball and play great defense. And you saw that in Austin a few weeks ago. And I expect them to have that same mentality. But make no two mistakes about it, the Gators, the last time we saw them on a football field, that's what they were doing. Their defense found something coming off of their first bye. We thought it was just by virtue of you're playing a lower, a team of lesser caliber in a UCF that maybe had more warts than a lot of people believed. But you bring Tennessee right to the finish. You probably should have won that game up on Rocky Top. And then what they were able to do against Kentucky, I'm not sure what they found during that first bye week, but if they can find something similar on the defensive side of the ball this go-round, they're not as talented of a roster as Georgia, but what did we just say? It's not about the roster at this point. It's about how are you setting up those players in the most efficient way possible. I also think they found something in Jaden Baugh, the true freshman running back. And, of course, it all ends and begins with DJ Lagway, the true freshman quarterback. This is going to be the most talented roster that true freshman backfield is going to go against. But at the same time, look, I mean, anything's possible because look at what they've proven over the last 4 weeks. I don't think anybody had them coming out of that stretch 2-1. They needed to come out of it 2-1 to have a chance down this absolute gauntlet second half of the season. But I think that, again, they're young kids. What do they know? They don't know any better. And if Georgia can't start fast and if Georgia can't run the ball, that's where I could see the door opening for Florida to, at the very least, make this ball game.
I love it. Angel, you have one question for Mia? It looks before or not. I wasn't sure if you
No, the only Mia, first of all, thanks for joining us this morning. I know you're constantly busy, and I'm waiting for the fallout of Dougie P, which none of us obviously in Philly, because he's the only one that's brought a Super Bowl championship to Philadelphia. But when it comes to coaching, because you're coaching basketball, I don't know if you ever came in contact with Coach Amir Abdul-Rahim, as he obviously, the unfortunate passing last week, and they're going to have a celebration of life for him coming up this Saturday over at the Yuengling Center. But I wanted to get your thoughts if you ever came across with Coach.
Yeah, I actually called a couple of Coach's games when they came here to Jacksonville. The first play-by-play game I ever did for UNF was against Kennesaw State and Amir Abdur-Rahim. And it actually, which is God working in mysterious ways, Angel, UNF won on a half-court buzzer beater by Jose Placer, who then later that offseason transferred to South Florida to play for Amir. And so, I got the chance to speak with him a couple different times. I was so looking forward to catching up with him, honestly, pregame this upcoming Monday when USF comes to Jacksonville to play Florida. Absolutely gutted last Thursday. I didn't believe it. I saw head coach Jordan Mincy of JU posted an Instagram. He didn't say the name. He just said, "I can't believe this. I love you, brother. Like, rest in peace." And I'm scrolling through the pictures, and I'm like, that's Amir. I'm like, what's happening? And I went to Twitter, and obviously the news had come out from the university, and it's very difficult for me to wrap my head around, but it's also difficult because he was the fastest rising, most well-regarded, I can tell you, from the college basketball circles nationally, head coach in waiting in the country. And it's awful to see, but when you listen back to so many of those quotes and those videos and the inspiration that he left behind, look, he did a whole heck of a lot with his 43 years, and I'm blessed that I even got to spend a couple minutes with him.
All right, Mia, and I know it's college basketball is right here. What's your schedule like early on, calling games for ESPN Plus, and what else you doing?
Yeah, so we'll actually be on site. Of course, I am an AP Top 25 voter, so wouldn't miss that Monday game between Florida and USF for the World. So I'll just be covering that one for 1010XL. We also will have pregame coverage, and of course, we'll carry that game. As far as the ESPN Plus broadcast schedule, still awaiting my JU duties. We actually have a new athletics communication director, so he's getting his sea legs under him. I have my UNF schedule. That won't pick up until late November, as they're both start largely on the road, both the men's and the women's side. But very excited to be teaming up with OG Triangle Media out of North Carolina. Going to be co-hosting their women's basketball podcast that we dropped our first episode this morning.
Awesome.
With Mitch Northam, who is the preeminent women's basketball writer up there in the Triangle area. He's got a great embedded long-form book coming out later this year, actually at the beginning of next year. On North Carolina, he was embedded with the women's program all of last year. He does amazing work for the Win, Baltimore Banner. He's covered the NCAA tournament 5-6 years in a row now for various sites. And so it's been really great to get to know him and that whole team over the last few weeks. And so episode number 1 drops today, and you can find that. I just tweeted out the link. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the OG Triangle Media YouTube channel, Amazon, all that good stuff. And so it's going to be really nice to have a weekly outlet to also talk women's college basketball, in addition to the games that I'll be covering.
That's fantastic. Mia, enjoy the cocktail party. Say hi to all of my SEC buddies, Finey, Peter Burns, Laura Rutledge, Alyssa Lang, McElroy. They're all going to be there. It's great, and I'm hoping the Gators. I think they are. I agree with you. I think they're going to cover the 6. I think they give them a game. But all the best. You're awesome. Thanks so much, and have a great weekend. Have a great time at the cocktail party. Send some pictures of the food and the drinks.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm just hoping the steak comes through. Although I think I had salmon last year, and it was pretty good. But you guys know it. I was getting texts from friends yesterday that were coming in town. It's always a party when those two programs roll in. As a matter of fact, today's Wednesday, and I'm pulling into the stadium in the next 10 minutes. I can guarantee you people are already in RV City.
Gotta love it. Gotta love college football atmosphere. Mia, thanks so much. We'll talk again very soon. You're the best.
Yep. Adios.
All right.
Thanks,
Ciao. Great stuff. She's fantastic. She really is. How about the irony of with Coach Raheem, and calling his games? That's something, huh?
Yeah. Well, again, he was well loved by so many people. It's a shame. It's always always the good die young, unfortunately.
Yep.
And that's been one of the themes for many, many years. But yeah, he's definitely going to be well missed. And then, of course, this Saturday, they're going to do the Celebration of Life for him up there at the Yuengling Center. So I would imagine it is going to be an absolute packed house.
Yes. Very emotional day. No question about it. All right, my friend, what is coming up? Your show is coming up today, right? Martinez and Company. What else? Everybody good to go, ready to roll today on a hump day Wednesday.
So today it will be Martinez Company for about 5 minutes. I'm going to do the shortest show ever. Of course, I'm kidding, folks. But no. Yeah, so I'll be on here.
$100,000 fine that the 76ers got because Joel Embiid said he didn't want to play.
Yeah. I'll be doing that. And then later on will be Bede's World from 6 to 7. And then Talking Hoops. Goodness gracious. Rich is on the road. So he'll be off probably the remainder of the week and maybe possibly next week as he's covering a lot of stuff that he's been put out for. So yeah, it won't be no drive for Q this afternoon.
All right. Well, great stuff coming up. Where's your lovely and talented wife? And this is for her, Deb, of course. I remember I played this for you last year. You didn't think I had it, but it did. IMP, thanks to all the great guests we had today. Me, O'Brien, just heard DeAndre Lou, Bill Sparrows, great stuff. Tomorrow, I'm not sure what particular order, Trevor Harris. We'll talk Miami Hurricanes, Duke football. Mick Colagio, we'll talk Bruins. And also John Mita-Perrell. We'll have our ACC college football report with him and the latest with BC coming up. So have a great and safe rest of your Hump Day Wednesday. It's Halloween tomorrow. What will I wear, Angel? What will I wear? I'll tell you what. I'll go as an Italian Clark Kent. Does that work for you?
That'll work.
Goddamn it. Anyway, all right. Have a great and safe rest of your All Hallows Eve. And check out the Coastal Sports Network. Martinez and Company coming up next to you.